Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I normally film the intro to these reading on my book box videos actually after I'm done because I like to have a little bit of an idea of what I'm doing going into them so I can then intro the first book. But you know what? I'm sitting here, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I think it's because I'm a little traumatized after how poorly the last video went. Like, I am still reeling, and it's been like a month since I did that video, and I am still reeling from how much I didn't like those books. Like, it was, I'm thinking back at the books and I'm just like, what happened? Like, what actually happened? There were so many that I had such high expectations for. Owl in the Silver Sea, The Second Death of Locke, I really thought those were gonna be 5 stars, and I hated them. I legitimately did not like those books. And so I'm sitting here with my little pile of books, This is generally what I keep my like TBR in. And so I pretty much just stuck all of these for this next video in here. And this is what stays in my room. And then my TBR for videos coming up is in a cart in one of the spare rooms. That's kind of how I do like my TBR stuff. But I'm just like looking at these books and I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I keep picking them up and then putting them down without even reading them because I'm scared to start this video because I've said it before in comments and stuff, but I plan to read all of these. I plan not to DNF a single one just to see what happens. And I will tell you, I'm not enjoying this, but I'm gonna continue because I just want to see. I want to see if I am stopping these too early. And I think it's like a necessary evil that I need to do is even if I really want to DNF something, even if I'm really not liking it, I just want to finish it to see where I fall towards the end. Because it's kind of what happened with like Butcher and Blackbird and Not in Love. When I retried those, I ended up on a 3 and a 4 star. So I just want to know, is my initial perception of things really what the rest of the book is going to be like? I have a feeling it is. I mean, I'm hoping all these are 5 stars, but I have a feeling there'll at least be one in here that I'll want to DNF and that I will have to continue. And I am curious what I'm gonna think about it and if that will change how I go about things for 2026, because I want to know. And in 2026, like it is February. I am a little bit behind already and I did not want that to be the case. But for all of my book boxes in 2026, I really want to stay on track with them. I want to read them very soon after I get them because I did kind of catch up. Like, it is February. These are from November and in December, so it's not terrible, but I am still a little bit behind. So I have most of my January books. I need to get to this January video and start that before I start getting stuff for February and March, and so I need to do this. So I do plan to read these and post in February this video. This is my next priority. I am almost done my mood reading video. I'm about halfway through the Fairyloot purge. That's not going the best, but I'm not as mad about that one. The purge is on purpose trying to DNF stuff if I'm not enjoying it. Like, I'm not in the purges, I'm not really trying to really hold on to things because it generally is books that I haven't picked up because I haven't been interested in picking them up because they've just been sitting on my shelf for a while. So nothing in those purges is from the past like year and a half. I think it's generally everything is 2024 and before because of me doing this project. So that's really nice. So there is less guilt of me DNFing in a purge video. I have immense guilt DNFing new books. Immense guilt because of the cost of these. And so so this video is going to be an experiment in should I really push forward in these book box books, like specifically like newer books. Probably old books if I want to DNF it, I'm still going to DNF it, but maybe if it turns around in the back half of these newer books, it might be worth it to push through just because they are newer books and I have recently paid for them and I was excited about them. So I know it's a little bit of a change from my usual content because my usual content is just DNF it if you're not enjoying it. But because of the amount I DNF'd in the last video, I just want to run this little experiment. And we might do this experiment throughout 2026 just to see. And I might keep track of like stats on that, like books that like what page do I want to DNF it? What page did I continue? What did I give the rating for it? So I think I might start tracking that in 2026 just to see how things go. How is my brain DNFing things, and at what point does it decide enough is enough? And is it correct deciding enough is enough? So let's talk about the books that we have here. So we are doing November and December because, well, the funny thing is December now has 3 books. Originally I was only going to have 2, but it has 3 now, so I could have probably split these up. But we're just going to do November and December together. I think that works. And then that will have us completely caught up for 2025, and then we'll move over into January. So for November's books, we have, if I'm correct, we have Seven Deadly Thorns. This is the young adult Fairyloot. We have Fallen City by Adrian Young. This is the adult Fairyloot. We have A Rather Vengeful Accord, probably one of my favorite covers. This is the Illumicrate from November. And then the last one from November is the House Sapphire from Owlcrate. So those are the November books. Originally, I was thinking I was going to just read November's books first, and then the back half of the video was going to be December's books, but I think I'm just gonna mix them because we're gonna try prompts. We're gonna do what I do. For Fairyloot right now, I'm doing prompts, and it's working out okay. It's making me make decisions and making me pick stuff up, and I think that's what I'm struggling with right now as I look at these books, and I'm so scared that I don't want to pick them up. I don't want to make the decision. I don't want to be like, okay, here we go, I'm gonna read this one because it's the one I'm in the mood for. I don't want to do it. I keep putting them back down. So I think I need a little push. So I'm just going to have them all together and do prompts, try to match the prompts like I did with the Fairyloot video, and go from there. So that way it's at least forcing me to pick something up. So they will be mixed, but this way you know what's November, what's December, and then at the end we'll talk about some stats in this video. I gotta remember to do that. At the end of this video, I need to talk about 2025 as a whole because the numbers are bad. I have an average rating for not including DNFs, and then I have an average rating including DNFs. The numbers are shocking. They're really bad. So that's kind of another reason why I want to try and make myself finish all the books this year just to see. So for December, we have Fairyloot, I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends. This is a nice little shorty patori. This might be nice. We have Owlcrate Adult, Violet Thistlewaite is not a villain anymore. And then we have the young adult Fairyloot, Cold Wire. I did skip a lot. I skipped a lot in December. I just wasn't interested in that much stuff. So we have quite a few things. We have kind of like a sci-fi dystopian, I believe. We have a like cute romance fantasy, like it's a cozy fantasy romance little cutesy thing. Then we have, I think it's fantasy, but also could be like young adult contemporary. And then I think everything here is fantasy, but some is adult fantasy, some is young adult fantasy. So let's look at the prompts. I'm going to use a different pack that I'm using for the Fairyloot just because I think that'll be fun. It is still a Illumicrate though. So we have these ones. I've never looked at these. Oh, you can see the dust just popped up all of a sudden. I gotta dust these shelves. I gotta dust everything actually. I hate dusting. So these are reading prompt cards, the indecisive bookworm who has too many books. You know, that's how I feel right now. I need someone else to make this decision for me. So we're gonna use these prompt cards. Yeah, I've never used these. I don't know what the colors signify. I don't know if they're like genres, but we will probably just skip the genre ones. And obviously if it doesn't match, we'll just pick a new one. So I don't know what these mean, but we're gonna go for it. And we're gonna pick like a pretty one. Ooh, I kind of like this green. Let's pick this card. A book with natural elements on the cover. Let's see. By natural elements, I assume they mean like air, wind, water, fire. It might not, but like that's what I think of. And it has like, I don't know, elements looks different. Like the font looks different than the other things. So I'm just gonna assume it's the elements. Because this could also mean like woods, flowers, that kind of stuff. But I'm just gonna go with the very generic term of natural elements, which is earth, wind, fire, water. Like I'm thinking Avatar so I can remember what they are. So let's see. I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends. I do think we have wind actually. That kind of counts, I feel like. So yeah, wind. I would say wind counts that one. So that one probably counts. This one, if you're counting like flowers in the vibe, that would count, but I would say no on this one. I'm gonna say this is just like a nature vibe in general, but not like elements. I know I'm being really specific about it, and it probably doesn't mean what it actually means. Does this count as water? I can't tell if that counts as water. I don't know. Is this like a book about water? I don't think so. It doesn't seem like it is. It is a dystopian, though. That I was right about that. I'm gonna say no with this one. I don't think this one does. The House Sapphire. This, again, has nature elements, like the mushrooms and flowers and stuff like that, but it doesn't have anything that screams what I'm trying to find. A Rather Vengeful God. This has lightning. Someone in Avatar uses lightning. That counts, right? It's a firebender. Maybe I'll count that. I'm gonna count as fire. We're going by Avatar rules. Fallen City, I don't see. I'm gonna say no. And then Seven Deadly Thorns is, again, it's nature-ish because it's got a lot of plants and vibes and animals and stuff. So I would say no on this one too. So I think that leaves us with these two. And I think this one might be better saved for like in the middle of the book in the video, because this could be like a good palette cleanser because it's so small and it is a lot different than the other fantasy books in here. So I think we're gonna start with A Rather Vengeful Accord. Oh gosh, I'm scared. We're starting with an Illumicrate book, but I am finishing it no matter what happens, unless it's offensive. There's something offensive in one of these books, which the only time I found something offensive was in The Afterlight. With the IBS stuff and the disgusting, to be honest. I still don't want to talk about that. Yeah, so this one is In Passion Glory. At the elite college of St. Pendergast, Gravers raise the dead and turn corpses into unnatural abominations, while spires... I apparently can't read right now. Spires battle undead horrors in grand arenas, thrilling crowds with divine spectacle. That sounds awesome. Halen... what is happening? Halen Kilquire would kill and resurrect anything to study graving at, what are these words, at St. Pendergast. But this is why I don't read them anymore in the unboxing videos, because this is what happens when I try to read stuff sometimes, when it doesn't make any sense to my brain. But Hal cannot enlist alone. The only way she can secure admission is to enter a dangerous accord with her mortal rival, Alistair Fulton, a handsome, accomplished spirer and the infuriating, exiled scion of the great Fulton dynasty. As Hal and Alistair fight grisly creatures in ghastly piers side by side, Hal faces the horrors of necromancy and the revolting prospect of a romance with her own nemesis. Why did I think this was LGBTQ+? Why was I under the impression that it was a romance between two boys? Maybe it's just because I saw the name Hal instead of Halen, which Halen to me still reads a little more masculine, so my brain just automatically, I think, assigned a male gender specific to it. So I don't know why I thought, did someone tell me that this was LGBTQ+? So I'm a little sad by that, but I'm glad that I read that. I would have went into this thinking it was LGBTQ+, and then would have been really confused what was happening. So I'm glad I read that. So I think we're going to start with that. That actually sounds really, really good. It's such a pretty copy of this. I really like this book. It is a little heavier than their normal books. That's like my only issue with it. But I do think I have a Kindle version of this, so that will be nice. So let's start A Rather Vengeful Accord. I will update you as I go through. I might update more than usual just to keep tabs on things, keep track of stuff. So we'll see how long this video is. I am about 21% into A Rather Vengeful Accord, and I'm having a very weird reading experience with this one. I'm kind of feeling the same way about it as my re-experience of This Monster of Mine, where I struggled with a lot of the world building because it wasn't entirely clear. It was a little jumbled. I had a hard time telling what was what, where was where, and who was who. But I still liked it. The writing was just a bit overcomplicated and didn't really do a good job of explaining backstory, and the exact same thing is happening here. We have pretty much just been thrown into this story, and there's just a lot of terms that are not our normal terms. We would not use them. They are made up terms. So it is taking a while to get used to them. I am very happy there's a glossary in the back. I did actually just read through the glossary, so that has helped significantly. So if you are reading this and struggling, I would recommend checking out the glossary. I don't know if it's in all copies of the book, but it is in mine. I'm sure if it's not in your copy, there's probably something on her website or something. But the glossary has helped immensely because everything is, it's confusing. It is a very confusing book. However, at the same time, I like it. It's very different. I think that's the problem with these books that are super different, is sometimes they're really hard to like understand. My arm's hurting. Sometimes they're like really hard to understand, but sometimes it's like good because it's so different than anything I've read. So this is very fascinating. I just need to get a grasp on the story a little better, and then I think it's going to go a little bit smoother, because right now it's slow. I'm reading it very slowly because I am struggling understanding the backstory of this book. And there's like wars that have been brought up. There's old gods. There's different jobs. And it is a bit confusing what everything means. This is following our two main characters, Alistair and Hal. And Alistair is a spirer. He is a descendant of one of the old gods, and that gives him like extra powers. And he is, I don't know why he's at this academy. I feel like I either missed it or we're going to learn this later. But he's at this like kind of shitty academy that the big group of people who come to take you away to go train at this really fancy, prestigious academy never come to. But because this guy's here, he's part of a really, really old family. And so they're like, okay, we will come here, test him, and then we're going to take him to the fancy academy. And so he basically has an in because his family like runs a lot of stuff. So on the other hand, we have Hal, who is kind of like lowborn, like she's just part of like the general collective and has really no hope to go to this prestigious school called Pendergast, but she is trying to figure out how to get there because she wants to be a graver, which is different than a spirer. I'll explain in a second. But she ends up going there for a different discipline. She ends up going for spiring, which is a big deal because she supposedly doesn't have the necessary powers to be that. So there are the whole point of this is there are spirers and there are gravers. Alistair is a spirer and you have to be basically born into it, but you basically are a fighter. You're a fighter and you use these like ridiculous powers that you have and you fight these created monsters that are either created by the wild or they're created by gravers. So then you have gravers, which is what Hal wants to be. And gravers actually create these monsters using glyphs, and they get their power through ingesting this like pulp stuff. But you can only ingest it if there's like certain circumstances that have been met. So like I said, it's very complicated. There's a lot of backstory that we still don't know. There's like, again, there was a war at some point between the old gods, and there's fights between like the rich side of town versus the more poor side of town. But then at the same time, this whole area is blocked off from everywhere else because they have unnatural powers and other countries are afraid of them. So there's just a lot. There's a lot. So basically where I'm at, we have left the original institute and we are going to this fancy Pendergast Academy. And our main two people, they do not get along. They very much do not like each other, but they are having to rely on each other at this academy. So they're going to be forced to get along and forced to work together, which I think is fun. And I think it makes sense for what this is. I'm enjoying it, but I definitely need to understand the book a little bit more to get more engrossed in the book, because like I said, it is reading rather slowly for a book that I'm enjoying. I actually don't have that much of an update because I'm still only I'm like 37% into A Rather Vicious Accord, but I have some book mail, so I figured I would open it with you guys and talk about the post office right now. I feel so bad for the post office. They're just so overwhelmed with stuff because of the storms, but the storms are over now. They're still sorting through a bunch of mail, I guess. But my packages were just like thrown on the ground outside of my mailbox. I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if they tried to shove them all in there and then they just all fell out, which would really suck. But they're like soaking wet because they were laying on the ground, and I love that. Like, I absolutely love that. So we're gonna try to open these up, and they were there all night because they like showed up, I guess, really late last night, but they're soaking wet. Like, it's great. This one is the Waterstones one. I did get the Brandon Sanderson from Waterstones. This is a tiny one from Barnes & Noble. That was a pre-order when I did during the 25% off pre-order. And then this last one is also a Barnes & Noble one. And they're just like covered in frost. they're covered in frost, but it's warm in the house now, so it's thawing, and it actually is warmed up outside. So again, they're wet. Like, I can't show you the front of this because it has my address in it, but like, that should not tear that easily. Like, it's, oh no. And the book is kind of exposed because of how Waterstones does like theirs. So we're gonna see how this looks. But yeah, while I'm opening this, oh god, yeah, it is really wet. Okay, I need to figure out how to open this because the pull tabs have been like destroyed. But 37% into a rather vengeful accord, and I am enjoying it more because I'm understanding it more. So that's really nice. It looks like the book is okay so far. I can tell it got oh yeah, got a little wet. I think it'll be okay. I think I just need to air it out and put it like between some things because it feels a little damp. So I think, yeah, that pisses me off. Ooh, and I don't blame Waterstones for this one. This one is my post office. They did a bad last night because I bet this happened last night. But you can tell it's like wavy, but it's okay. Everything else is fine. I just need to dry out the pages a little bit more. It may always stay this wavy, but again, it's really not that bad. I have Isles of the Emberdark, and of course it's like the most expensive of the books, so you can kind of tell it's warped just by that. But when you open it up, you can see how wavy it is. Yeah, I just need to dry it out. Hopefully that will calm down, but it's a gorgeous edition. I really liked the sprayed edge, but I feel like now because of the damage, I could have just gotten a US edition, but it's really pretty. I think this is what the US edition basically looks like also, other than the edges. So I really probably could have got the US edition, but you know, this is what we did, so this is where we're at this point. But yeah, so I'm understanding the book more, I'm understanding the story more, I'm understanding the magic in the world more, somewhat. Like, every once in a while they'll say something and I'm like, did that make any sense? Did that make sense to me? I don't know. So I'm still working through things, but I really like how different it is. Like, I really am enjoying this book. I think this is a really good pick. I do think it's a risky pick because because of how complicated it is and how difficult it was to get into, I definitely can see people not liking this one. And even though I'm enjoying it, I still don't know if it was actually a good pick by Illumicrate, because I feel like these book boxes should be picking things that would appeal to the general public. So we have our first Barnes & Noble one, and this should be the Alley Hazelwood, and it is Two Can Play. I'm actually really excited to start this one. This one may be just a really quick read today because it is like a novella. It's really cute and really short, so very excited about this one. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. But I just don't feel like this book has like mass appeal to it. And I actually think it's gonna frustrate a lot of people to read because it's not an easy book. I think it's gonna appeal to the fact that it is very different. But I think a lot of people are gonna have issues with how difficult the first like 50 to 60 pages were to understand. Like, literally just to understand. So this is gonna be a very specific reader who ends up liking this book. And they're going to have a lot of patience, which is normally not normally not me. I'm not a patient person, you guys know that. So for me, what's keeping me interested is I really like the characters. There's already been like a hint of tension between the characters, but it's very like low right now. I feel like we're getting some very secret pining. Like, you're like, oh wait, is he pining? Or is he not pining? I can't tell, but it does feel like there's a little bit of pining. And I like that that's been introduced very slowly and very low key. So I feel like I can enjoy the ramp up when it eventually happens. So I am enjoying that. We have our, ooh, this got wet too. Did this get wet? This is our other book, and it is one of my most anticipated releases, and it is Throne of Nightmares. And I definitely wanted the Barnes & Noble edition. Yeah, this one also got wet. So this one got warped on the inside a little bit. Definitely not as bad as the Waterstones, but it definitely got a little bit of it. So I'm just gonna have to sit these out. Like, this one just feels a little damp. Like, it's really cold, and it just feels a little like do you know when you pull when you leave blankets accidentally in the dryer and it's like really, really cold outside, and then you pull them out and you're like, are they wet or are they just really cold? Like, that's kind of the feel of this. It's like, is it wet or is it just slightly damp and really, really, really cold? That's kind of what I don't know right now. But Barnes & Noble edition, I love this edition. I collect, you can't see them right here, but I collect the Barnes & Noble editions, and I am caught up. Like, this is the book that I'm on, which is really cool. And oh, I really like the under here. And I think, oh, we have it right there. House Sloth is going to be this book, which is very exciting. So those are the books that I got. Those are the books I got. But yeah, Rather Vengeful Accord. Honestly, if this continues, oh, I don't know why I'm putting that one up there. If this continues in a really good direction, I could honestly see this one being upwards of a 5-star. That's how much I'm really enjoying A Rather Vengeful Accord. So I'm really hoping that this just continues to build on itself, and it's taking the slow burn route, and I appreciate that. I do need a little bit more knowledge about the entities that they're fighting because they don't entirely make sense to me still, so I need a little bit more information about those. But otherwise, I am enjoying it. So I guess now probably I won't update at 50%, but I'll probably update closer to 60 to 70%, and then I'll do an update at the end. But it's going well. I'm about at 69%. I'm looking a little rough because Taz woke us up at 3 in the morning, so I chose to leave the room because my husband had to work this morning, so I didn't want him staying up. But I guess Taz was like super uncomfortable last night. He's still recovering from having eye surgery, so I think it's gonna be a couple weeks. So some nights he's really, really good. Other nights he's not so good. So last night was not a good night. So I kind of just sat in the living room while he meandered about making little whining noises, and then gave him some gabapentin, and then he finally passed out at like 5 o'clock. So I went back to sleep. It's 10 o'clock now. Like, I finally went back to sleep at like, God, what time? 7? Because I couldn't go back to sleep. I'm one of those people, if you wake them up, I'm gonna be awake. So I went back to sleep at like 7, woke up at about 10. So, and I didn't go to sleep until like 1. So I have not had that much sleep. I will have to take a nap today. But good thing is, I read a lot more of this last night, so I am to about 70% into this book. I'm really enjoying it. I actually really love this book. It's gotten a lot easier to understand. Again, there are still aspects of it that are a bit of a mystery to me, but I'm kind of just letting it go. But I'm really enjoying this. I like the I like Alistair a lot. I like Alistair as a character a lot. Our main character, Hal, she can be a bit obnoxious sometimes. Like, she definitely is annoying the hell out of me a little bit. Oh, I think Taz has to go outside. I'll wrap this up. Okay, so I'm enjoying it. I like the monster fighting. I think that's really cool. Like, I thought the trials were going to be a small part of this book, but they're actually turning out to be all of the book. So I think that's really fascinating. I don't know exactly where this story is going though. Like, I don't know what the because I know there's another book in the series, at least there's supposed to be. I don't know what the overarching like plot line is supposed to be exactly. I think that's the only thing that I'm missing right now from the book is like, what is going to make this a duology? Like, what's the point of this story? Because it doesn't feel deep. Like, the story doesn't feel deep in any way, and I feel like that is what I'm missing. So I'm curious how this book is going to end, because it doesn't feel, it just feels like we're missing something a little bit deeper in this book that'll give us a duology, because right now it feels like it's just going to be a single book. I don't know. But yeah, I like that the trials are doing the whole thing. I like that they're long. Like, they are long trials. We're getting in-depth detail about what's going on and what we're fighting and how they're fighting together. Sometimes I don't know if it makes complete sense what they're doing. But again, I'm kind of being very forgiving while reading this because of how unique the story is and how different it is. And it's just very entertaining. I also think the romance is very unique. He's just kind of like come out and been like, yeah, I feel like it's really obvious that I like you, but like, I guess I just have to tell you because you're not realizing it. And so I love that. It's very different than I feel like the grand explanation in most of these fantasy books where like finally the person is like, oh my god, I've loved you this whole time, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like, yeah, so like, it's been obvious, you're just not realizing it, so like, I'm just gonna have it out there, so whatever, and then I'm going to flirt with you so much and make it obscenely obvious my feelings. I love that. That is so different than other fantasy books that I read. It's so much fun. So that being said, I am immensely enjoying this. I do plan on finishing this today. I think I have about 110 pages left, so today, tomorrow. Guys, I should have updated you before I did this. I feel like I've come on here before with this having been a thing, but I finished my book and I was like, oh, I'll go shower and wax my mustache. Then I'll go update you guys and pick my next book. And obviously totally forgot about the fact that it's gonna be red everywhere. Yeah, I'm not like ashamed of it. It's just very red. It's just so like it's fresh. It is so red. But like so many people do this and no one talks about it. No. Everyone does this. A lot of people do this. I have very dark hair and practically translucent skin. So it is a necessity. So that's where we're at right now. So if you are offended by the red face, feels bad. It feels real bad. Anyway, I came on here to talk about this because I have finished A Rather Vengeful Accord. And you know what? I loved this. I loved this. I loved this. I loved this. I am so close to giving it a 5-star. I am giving it a 4.5 right now because something at the end of this book did make me a little nervous going into book 2. I am nervous where this is going because I think it could be really, really good, but it has to do the thing that I want it to do. Like there are, I think, 2 diverging paths that we could take, and if it goes one direction, I'm gonna be really grumpy. If it goes the other direction, I'm gonna be obsessed. And I do think, based on the bonus Illumicrate chapter, I do think it potentially will go in my direction, but I'm not sure because of the letter. The letter at the end of this book changed everything. Number one, the end of this book was insane because my mouth literally dropped open and I gasped because I wasn't expecting it, and I don't know why I wasn't expecting it. I feel like it shouldn't have been that big of a surprise, but I was flabbergasted. My gasps were flabbered. That doesn't sound good. I was super flabbergasted, and I was sitting there reading the end like, I wish I had the camera on my face while I was reading it because I don't think I actually have ever looked that surprised in my entire life. I know, I get it. I get why people don't like it though. 100% understand why people don't like this book. It is really hard to understand sometimes. So if you've ever read a Cassandra Khaw book, this reminds me somewhat of their writing because Cassandra Khaw writes almost in like this kind of almost like a disjointed, a lot of stuff goes over your head while you're reading their books, and some of this felt this way because it did feel a little bit like the author understood this world incredibly well and did not dumb down an ounce of it for the reader. So going into it, the author just kind of assumed that we knew what was going on, and that definitely was not the case. Like this was a very different world. The glossary definitely helped. I would recommend, highly recommend reading the glossary. It significantly helped my understanding of the book, but it was just there were just moments where I was like, does this scene make sense in my head? Like I'm having a hard time picturing the scene. Like there was a scene at the end, something was happening to our main character, and I was like, what is actually happening in this scene? It's again, a very Cassandra Khaw situation. However, I loved everything else about this. This was such a unique book. So freaking unique. I loved the fighting. I loved the trials. I loved the monsters. I loved the magic. I loved just everything about this. I liked the romance. And again, that comes with the caveat of what's going to happen in the next book. So if the next book does what I want, this is a 5-star. As of right now, it is a 4.5. If it does what I don't like, see, this could be a 5-star no matter what. If it does, if it makes me change my mind and I like what it does, this could still be a 5-star. But if it does something that I don't like and I don't enjoy it, this will probably actually get downgraded to a 4. So it's kind of at a temporary 4.5. It will either be a 5 or a 4 depending on the next book. So I'm really hoping this next book actually comes out in 2026. I looked it up. There is no title. There is no anything about it other than that Daphne Press, I think, which is Illumicrate's press, right, is going to be the one publishing this duology, and it is a duology, so I am excited about that. So I am really hoping that Illumicrate has the second book that I can pick up, and it said publishing potentially in 2026. I am so hoping for that because I desperately want to read the second book. I do hope some things are explained a little bit more, but I just thought this was really good. I understand why people did not like this. I really do. Like, there's some books that I'm like, I don't understand why people don't like it, or I don't understand why people like it. I get why people don't like this book, but I had a fantastic time reading this one. So yeah, 4.5 stars. I'm so happy that we started with this, and it's the Illumicrate. Like, I don't think we have another Illumicrate. So Illumicrate ended with a bang. Isn't that great? That's so good. So that's fantastic. That makes me excited. It puts me in an amazing mood for the rest of this video, which I feel like is really important. I feel like we generally start these videos off on a negative note and then it just slides down from there. So I'm just happy that we actually had something that is really good. I also think it's really funny because I'm using prompt cards in my Fairyloot video right now, which I am actually, almost dumped these out, which I am actually going to be switching back over to that to work on that because that is supposed to come out before this. So I need to get a move on that one. But I am using prompt cards for both this video and the other video. And I think I accidentally swapped them. So this is actually the deck I'm supposed to be using, the Fairyloot one. And then the other deck, the other one's a little more cutesy. This one's a little more dark. The more cutesy deck is supposed to be for this video. But I've swapped them now. I think I'm just going to use them interchangeably. Just whatever. Whatever. So let's see. What do we have left? Literally everything. I think I said it before. I originally was going to try and keep them separated by November and December, but I'm just going to read whatever prompt fits, whatever. So we have Coldwire, Fallen City, The House Sapphire, Seven Deadly Thorns, I'll Find You When the Timeline Ends, and Violet Thistleweight. So big range of things. Young adult sci-fi? Coldwire is sci-fi, isn't it? So young adult sci-fi, adult fantasy, young adult fantasy mystery? House Sapphire, fantasy mystery? Seven Deadly Thorns, young adult fantasy. I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends, I believe, is young adult contemporary. And then Violet Thistleweight is a cozy fantasy, like light fantasy, I think. So we have quite a few things to pick from. So let's get our prompt cards out. And it's funny because the prompt cards that I use in these videos get set aside. So it's become a mess. It's become a mess doing both of these videos at the same time. So let's see what fits this prompt. A book that has enemies to lovers. Ooh, that's funny because A Rather Vengeful Accord is like closest to that, because generally enemies to lovers really isn't enemies to lovers isn't really enemies to lovers. Normally it's like rivals to lovers or slightly inconvenienced by each other, so we kind of dislike each other to lovers. Enemies to lovers would be more like Alchemized. Alchemized is true. They hate each other for good reason. They despise each other because they're on opposite sides of a war. That is real enemies to lovers. Most of the stuff I read is, again, slightly inconvenienced, so they're upset to lovers, which is, again, what I would classify a Rather Vengeful Accord. But we have to be a little lenient. So let's see if I can find something that seems like enemies to lovers or close to it. Sometimes it's hard to tell just from a synopsis. Wire is definitely not enemies to lovers. It's like two people that are forced to work together, but for different, like, they're not interacting with each other at first, so they don't, it doesn't seem like they actually know each other. So next, let's see about Fallen City. This isn't really either. They're not exactly enemies. It says, when a legionnaire falls in love with a magistrate's daughter, their love will threaten the fate of the city. I don't think that really counts either. No, I think they're just like not meant to be in a relationship, but they're not enemies. Sapphire, I have a feeling this will also not be it. So this is like a girl who is a witch who takes advantage of someone who hires her. So not enemies to lovers. Ooh, we're getting low. We're getting low on things. Okay, we found enemies to lovers. Found enemies to lovers. So we at least have one. It literally has enemies in here. Again, this is more rivals, not enemies. Let's see. Viola. I don't know if I've ever said that name before. Viola? I think it's Viola. Viola? I'm gonna say Viola. Sinclair has hidden her shadow magic her whole life. Discovery means certain death. When the queen finds out Viola's secret, she sends the royal assassin to kill her. He is given a cursed tattoo, 7 thorns on his arm for the 7 days he has to complete his deadly task. If he fails, he will be the one to die. The assassin is Roz? R-O-Z-E. Never seen that before either. Raquelart, entitled prince, arrogant fellow student at Van. There are so many words that I can't say in the synopsis. Viola's mortal enemy. The chance to strike Viola down is at Roz's fingertips, but he needs something from Viola. And he's willing to spare her life and fake their engagement to get it, forced to work together. Not what I would actually consider enemies to lovers, more like fated to destroy each other to lovers. Is kind of more what it sounds like. I'm gonna hold this because it does say enemies, so it kind of does count. I don't think I'll Find Where the Timeline Ends will be enemies to lovers. No, this is a team up. This is very friendly. And then the final one, I don't think they know each other like beforehand, like the two people, because I think Violet Thistlewaite moves into town. No, but this seems like it's gonna be Grumpy Sunshine. So I think this one wins. Could be interesting. I haven't seen the best things about this one, but like I said, we're not DNFing. We're not DNFing. Again, unless it's like offensive. If there's something offensive in here, then yeah, we'll DNF it. But otherwise, we're going to be reading every single book. So let's read Seven Deadly Thorns. First update for Seven Deadly Thorns. And I don't really like this that much. However, I'm gonna keep trying it. Also, if I sound really funny, my ear is doing this thing. So my ear has started doing this thing. It's very rare that it does it, but I have some sort of like station tube dysfunction issue in both of my ears. And so they just do weird stuff all the time. And so the newest thing that my right ear has been doing is it will get clogged, which it does a lot. And then it will warp how things sound. So everything right now sounds like a robot because this ear is fine, but this one is hearing stuff off key. So it's like creating this dissonance and it's horrible. So music sounds out of key. My voice to myself sounds out of key. It actually has a robot sound to it. And then anytime anyone else talks, it also has that to it. So it's super fun. So if I do this, I see the problem is that I'm talking, so I can like still hear it inside my head. If I do this and I listen to someone else talk, it sounds fine. But if I were to do this, it sounds like super bad. Like it's awful. So right now, me talking and trying to give this update, ooh, that does not look level. Me trying to give this update, I just sound like a robot and it's driving me nuts. And also this is driving me nuts. I don't know why this thing is never level. It drives me crazy. Anyway, first update for Seven Deadly Thorns. I am 45 pages about chapter 6 into this book, so it's about like 12%. We're not very far, but I just wanted to immediately give this review so we can talk about it and then never talk about it again because some people are not gonna like what I have to say about this immediately because I got a couple comments about when I had to talk about Alchemized and I had to talk about the fan fiction side of Alchemized. People just didn't want to hear me talk about Harry Potter, and that is completely understandable. So I'm going to very quickly talk about it because I do have my personal opinions about this book. And I actually did go and look up because, like, again, I'm not in the fan fiction world. So in my head, I was like, what's the difference between fan fiction and inspired by another like source material? And so and I don't know why I didn't think of this to begin with, like it's really obvious what the difference is, but for some reason my brain didn't understand it at first. So fan fiction is when you write an actual like story in the world using the characters, and then like Alchemized was originally manacled and then it was turned into its own thing, Alchemized, with different names and etc. So it was originally fan fiction, then turned into something else. Inspired by is just when you have like ideas that come from another source material. So that's kind of what I had to like figure out. And then there's retellings, because that comes up in this as well, where you're taking like the original source material and it's like obvious it's the original source material and you're just rewriting it in a different format, space, area, whatever, with original characters. So this is immediately a Snow White retelling. So we have the huntsman and the queen going after this girl for reasons that we're not exactly sure of yet. So that is like a big part of the retelling, but instead of the huntsman chasing this girl, we're going to actually work together while dealing with him being compelled to hunt her. So that is a big difference. However, I still would classify it as a Snow White retelling. Now, very quickly, I do believe, in my personal opinion, this is just my opinion, that the characters and the basic structure of the school, we don't know enough about the school yet for me to be like 100% sure, but based on what I've read so far, and especially the characters, I do think it is inspired by Harry Potter. I do immediately. And again, the artwork doesn't help, but even without the artwork, I would have read this and been like, oh, I feel like we even have a scene from when Hermione punches Draco. That exact scene happens at the beginning of this book. Like, so the thing is, I wouldn't think any individual item was Harry Potter, but there's multiple different things together that make it feel like it is inspired. Although I am glad to say that the part that I'm at is very much diverging from that feeling. So I kind of wanted to read to the point to see if it would like really stick with that feel, but it doesn't. It does feel a little more Snow White. It does feel more like its own thing now, what I'm going into. But the beginning, the first about 30 pages, I mean, you have our main character, I don't even remember what her name is. Like I think her last name is Sinclair. So I guess we'll just call her Sinclair for right now. I don't know if that's her last name or first name. I actively do not know what her first name is. I will figure that out, but I don't have like the dust jacket, which would tell me. But we have Sinclair, who is our main character, who very much, I mean, off the bat is a very Hermione coded character. I hate to say it, but she is perfect student. She's the prefect. She is very, very rule focused, and she is very much into school. She is good at everything that she does relating to school, although she is very regimented. So kind of in a similar thing to when Hermione was bad at the tea leaf thing that happened in one of the later books. A similar thing happened with like her translating stuff. Like it's correct, but there's no like, she's not gonna like feeling wise things. So it's very structured. Everything she's good at is very, very structured. And then on the other side, you have Rose, who is the bad boy, but no one will go up against him because he's part of a really wealthy, very powerful family. And he is like the Dark Prince, and he's a jerk. He's a jerk. And they are immediately at odds with each other. And there is literally a scene where she walks up to him and they get in a fight and she punches him. And it's just very reminiscent of that scene that happens in the other IP I was talking about. So that's why it immediately, because you have all those things together, and like the school classes, like you're divided into different houses and stuff. So that combined with Sinclair's personality, combined with Rose's personality, because all of those things are together, that's what gives it the feeling of being inspired by Harry Potter. If it was like an individual thing taken out and put into a different setting, if you had the Sinclair character the same as she is in this book, but you have a different Rose character and you had a different setting, wouldn't think anything of it. And same thing with each individual element. But because they are all together, it's just painfully, in my opinion, feels like at least the people are inspired by that. So that is my opinion. I'm gonna keep it at that. I do think it's about to diverge significantly from feeling anywhere near like IPs and stuff. So I'm hoping it just feels like its own original content at this point. I do think this book is not the best written. It's also very cringy already, and it doesn't make a lot of sense like why we're forced into what we're doing. So I kind of talked about it, but it's following our main character Sinclair, who is the prefect. She is a perfect student, but she is hiding magic and she has shadow magic. This book somewhat feels like a Frankensteinian kind of pulling a bunch of inspiration from tons of different things. The point where I feel like it almost doesn't work together. Like for some reason, like the school doesn't feel like it fits with the rest of like the outside country. The plot line that's happening doesn't really feel like it fits with the thing that's happening outside of the school. Like nothing exactly feels like it fits. So she is dealing with having magic that is outlawed by the queen, and the queen's son, who is Rose, is a hunter, and the queen's son has to deal with her magic, and that's kind of the point where I'm at. I don't want to say anything else because it will be a spoiler kind of. And then what's going on the outside is that they're all kind of forced to stay in this castle slash school because on the outside a mist has taken over. Like one of the countries that they're at war with has set out this mist that has taken over everything, and it kills all living things. So they are trapped inside basically a glass bubble of the school and the castle, and that's kind of how it's like being like a closed location kind of thing. So I'm not sure how everything fits together. There's just a lot of stuff going on that does not seem to all work together. So I am curious where this is going to go. This is a really hard book to review already, like, because I haven't read that much of it, so it is already hard to talk about it without knowing that much. But it's just, so disjointed. Like, that's really what I'm having struggles with, is it's just so disjointed that it's hard to talk about. It's also cringy. I think I said it already. It's cringy because we already had a line where Rose is like, I'll show you this if you're a good girl. And I was like, can we not do this? It's been, I think that was like within the first like 20 pages. So it's just like, no, we're not doing this already. I'm not doing this. So if I was not trying to force myself to read all of these books in this video, I probably would have DNF'd it by now. So I kind of want to, if I have the urge to DNF something, I do want to tell you guys so that you know when the point I wanted to DNF, and maybe if I get to a point where I'm actually start liking it, we can kind of track that. So there is a high likelihood that I would have DNF this book already because I don't think it's well written. I don't think it's well plotted out. I don't love just how things are put together in this book right now. So probably would have DNF'd it at about 10%. So we'll see how I start feeling about it in about 25%. I'm trying to update you guys a lot. I talked about it. So probably about 25% I'll come and talk to you guys about it a little bit more. So I got farther in it than I wanted to when I said that I was going to update. I think I said 25%. I'm actually like 47% now into the book. I shouldn't have anything else much to say. I feel like the biggest thing I should say is my hope that it would remove itself or stop feeling like the IP I'm sick of tired of talking about. It does not feel like that anymore. Thank God. I do think it pretty much was just taking loose inspiration for the characters and then a little bit of the school. But other than that, we have moved on. I don't think it's anything similar at all anymore. Thank goodness. The book just doesn't really work as a whole. It's really not. It's not very good. The characters, the whole motivation in this book just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, especially like some of the stuff that just happened. It just seems so random, and that's kind of how the whole book feels. The whole book feels so random, so disjointed. It just feels like a bunch of ideas thrown together. And we have, like I said, we have this overarching mist that is taking everything over, and you can't go outside, so you're stuck in this castle, which is a really neat idea, but it feels, the way that the castle is described, the way that the mist is described, the way that the other kingdoms are described, and the war, etc., it feels like a very generic Throne of Glass type of fantasy story. Like, you know, it's like gas lights, and there's no phones, there's no probably electricity and stuff like that. The rest of this book, though, feels like the way that the characters talk, the problems that they're having, especially how the characters talk, feel modern. So it feels like we've put modern characters in a more modern school into an old-timey medieval village, is how it feels. It's so weird. It just does, like, the dialogue and the characters just don't work with the setting. It just feels like we Frankensteined a bunch of stories together and they don't all work mashed together like this. I still don't like our main character anymore. She's like doing the most to get the least. Like, she's just causing so many problems. She's one of those characters who just like can't be told to sit still for like 3 seconds and let other people kind of handle things for a second. She has to be in everyone's business. She has to be involved in everything. And that's really annoying. We also just had not a fight scene exactly, but there's something that just happened. But again, because so much other stuff is already happening, this extra thing that happened, I'm just like, what? So like we have like ghost children, we have like zombie guards, we have rogue magic, we have secret societies. It's just so much stuff shoved into, I think I'm 180 pages or something. Yeah, it's so much stuff shoved in 180 pages without actually saying anything. And I don't think the forced marriage makes sense. Because this is the whole point of this. It's a forced proximity, forced fake relationship. But the fake relationship makes no sense. It makes less than zero sense, and I don't think people would actually buy it. I also hate that we immediately alienated, like, I forgot she existed until this exact moment. There's like a best friend in here who was like really important in the beginning of the book and hasn't been brought up again for like over 100 pages. what happened to that character? Like, what happened to that character? It's just not very well done. It's not. I'm still reading it because I am curious where this book is going to leave off, because I do think that this is a series. So I'm curious how much we're going to get done in this book versus the world as a whole. Because we still have a lot of book left, but there also are a lot of problems left. And so I don't know. And again, I just don't buy, like, the thing that we just learned was so stupid. Like, it's so weird. Like, it's so weird. And the magic system, there is no magic system in this book. We don't understand the magic system because the magic's not allowed to be talked about, which feels a little bit like a cop-out for the author to do whatever they want with the magic. That's convenient. So, like, the thing that just happened, it's like, okay, how is that possible? Like, what is the magic behind the thing that just happened? No, we're not going to get explained. I'm sure that's not going to be explained. I'm sure it's not going to be explained. I just can't. I can't. It's just not very well written. So we are going to continue. I'm probably going to wait until the end to actually let you know my rating of it. I don't see it being anything higher than a 3. And to be a 3, it's really got to turn it around in the back half of this book. I don't see that happening, but weirder things have happened. We have officially finished 7 Deadly Thorns, and I would like a round of applause for this book because we officially have found our worst book of 2026 so far. Woo! So exciting. This, you know what? If you like this book, I would 1000% leave, because this is about to get mean. I'm about to get mean. I'm about to get mean to book boxes. I'm about to get brutal, because this is a pile of steaming dog shit. I don't think I've been this mad reading a book in a really long time. Like, a really long time. And it's nothing against the author. Anytime I'm reviewing a book, unless it's something offensive, I generally am not blaming the author. If they can get their book picked up and published, good for them. That's fantastic. I am particularly mad at whoever published this, whoever chose to publish this, whoever edited this, content editor, because the writing actually wasn't bad, content editor, I don't know what they're called, I don't know if they're just called a content editor, and BookBox Books, because this should never have been anywhere near a BookBox book, because this is arguably a horrible book. It is actual garbage. Like, it really is. Like, this is a horrible book. I would say this book is tolerable, passable for about 70%. We'll say 70. We'll give it 70%. I was thinking, and I kind of updated around 50%, and I was like, okay, like, it's probably going to get like a 2 or a 3. It's not very good, but it's not offensively bad. Like, it's just all over the place. Unfortunately, the last 30% of this book, 70% to 100% of this book, the last 30%, after I hit that 70% mark, this turned into an incoherent, fumbling, doesn't know what it is mess. And this is a standalone. This is a standalone, which is crazy, the stuff that happened at the end of this, for this to be a standalone. I'm actually going to talk about spoilers. I'm going to talk about spoilers in a little bit. I am going to give notice, because it's still relatively a very new book, but I need to talk about it. I need to talk about what happens at the end of this book and why it is so bad. So this, I don't know how to talk about it without talking about spoilers, but I'm going to try. The ending of this had made no sense. The twists in this book were never really alluded to in a way that you would actually be able to figure it out. I think that's the problem with a lot of this book, is you are given like here, we're trying to figure these 2 things out, while secretly you're actually trying to figure something else out, but you already know the answer to one of the things, so you're never going to learn what the answer is to that thing, because it's purposefully being hidden from you, because our main character knows, even though we're in her head, we don't know. Does that make any sense? So our main character that we're following in first person knows the answer to the thing that's happening, but we don't know, which makes no sense. If you wanted to do that, you would have to do third person. I almost said second person. No, you'd have to do third person. Like, no, like, it doesn't work to do first person, and the main character you're following in the head of knows the thing. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So first of all, that. But again, the twists don't make sense. There's like three 3-ish twists, where one of them is just straight up offensively bad. Like it's egregious when it comes to twists. You know what? 2 of them are. Two of them are egregious. Horrific, make no sense, are a fever dream. The back half of this book felt like you took shrooms or LSD and were on a bad trip. That is what this felt like, in like the worst possible way. So it's a 1 star. I hated it. And what's really bad is I hated this so much, and I feel bad because this is a debut book from this author. I don't know if I will ever pick something up by this author again because of how bad this book is. And I think that's where publishing did this author a disservice, because I think in her like thing it says, this is my first book. And when you look at prolific authors, oftentimes when they talk about stuff in their acknowledgements is that their first books are never published or they're published later. And I feel that's so unfair for this book to have been published when it is clearly a bad book. I don't know someone who would read this book as an editor and say this is good. I am so questioning the thought process if you're just in this for money, because the main character seems like TikTok fodder, but like I feel like even TikTok won't be tricked by this one. Like, I'm sorry, like, no, this is, oh my God, you have to at least have a good ending to a book. Like, this is so bad. Endless gratitude to Camille Kellogg, who forced me screaming like a toddler to make my world building make sense. It didn't make sense. And I feel like that says it right there, is that when you were editing for content, it didn't make sense. And so you edited enough to pass, but it still doesn't make sense. It still absolutely 1000% doesn't make sense. And so with having read this book, coming back around to book boxes, reading this book, and I think I'm so enraged because I've been working on the Fairyloot purge right now, so I'm especially have a bone to pick with Fairyloot right now. I think this book is a prime example of, after I read this, I thought, oh, book boxes hate us. Book boxes hate us, because this is so arguably bad that someone reading this, like there's someone who likes every book. That's gonna be the thing. Sandra Kaw, most people don't like their books. I don't think they should ever be in a book box. That is a personal choice to pick up one of their books. This is being foisted upon us. And I would argue most people would not enjoy this book. It's going to be a very small sect of people that really love this, but the majority of the population is not going to like this. And I do think that shows with the Goodreads score of a 3.56, which in my opinion is way too high. That is way too high. But I honestly feel like the book boxes hate us. They don't think about us when they are picking these books. There are so many fantastic books out there that if someone picking the books would just take time, and I feel like there needs to be multiple people and they all have to agree like, hey, yeah, this is a really good book. It does something different. Let's send it out to the people. I know there's probably a bunch of stuff that goes into this. A lot of debut authors are picked because obviously it's probably easier to get a little bit of a book deal with them. But come on, there are so many debut authors out there that actually have something that is well done. Again, the writing actually is really good in this, which is the sad part. It's everything else. Everything else is half-baked and terrible. So I'm going to stop there for my regular review. I'm going to go into spoilers for the end of this because I'm clearly dancing around the topic. So we need to just talk about it. We need to talk about the spoilers. Spoilers for major spoilers for this book. If you haven't read this yet and you're still interested in this, definitely skip ahead to where I'm picking the next book, because I will be picking the next book after this. So, spoilers. This ends kind of. So we get to this point where we find out that Rose is not like a real human, which, don't get me started on the magic system of this. It doesn't make any sense. But he's not a real human. And he's like this creation that was made from hatred and pure stress or something like that, whatever it is. And so that was like a moment, whatever. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, but that's why his skin is poison. It was really easy to figure that out pretty early on. I feel like that was very plain with the gloves and not touching people, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that was pretty obvious. So moving into the next spoiler, which is probably one of my most egregious ones, is that the stupid notebook, she's carrying around this book like the whole time. And so she finally figures out that blood opens up like a channel to this other book. There's 2 matching books. Someone else has one. And it turns out that she is the princess of the other kingdom. Her dad sent her to this kingdom for safety. And I think that is also where the book falls apart, is we are told so much about these kingdoms, but not actually anything that matters. So we aren't really explained why she was sent here, why it was safer. It's just the other kingdom's called the Kingdom of Death. And he gives this like, oh my God, when it's revealed that he is the dad through this stupid book, he then drops all the lore in multiple pages. Like, it is just walls of text of telling us what's actually going on in the other kingdom, but it still doesn't explain anything to be like, oh yeah, that makes total sense why she was sent away. Not a single time did I think it made any sense why she was sent away, because both kingdoms were suffering, not just the one that she was sent away from. Bizarre. So we never see the dad. She just like talks to him a little bit, and then that kind of just like stops and just like goes away, and we learn all this weird backstory that's like really not important later on. And then the next spoiler is that, and this is again, oh my God, you know what? No, there's so many egregious things. There's so many egregious things that happen at the end of this. Also, I'm sorry if you can hear my husband. He is so freaking loud tonight, and I'm ready. I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to fight. It's being really annoying. But we find out that she actually killed the king. So the entire book, the point of the book is trying to figure out who killed the king. And we're in our main character's point of view. But she killed him. But we're never told that. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? And I mean in a really stupid way. Such a great, stupid twist. I was raging when I read that. I was like, oh, you don't understand how points of view work. You don't understand how these are supposed to work. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, even though we're in her head, she killed the king. She killed the king. Which makes no sense with how she acts the whole book. Like, there's little moments where she's like, I can't tell him my secret. But like other things, she's like, oh my God, who could have killed the king? And she's saying it like in her head to us. And it's like, no, that doesn't work. Honey, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. So that happened. Then whatever, we take care of the queen in a fever dream of a sequence. Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. The fight scenes, they were so poorly written. Oh my God. It was so bad. It was a joke. It felt like a joke. And then moving on to the end, she's like, let's die. So they die. But they wake up in the kingdom of Castile, whatever the other kingdom is, because it's known as the Kingdom of Death. So it's actually the afterlife. And Rose even asks, he's like, so how do we get back? Like, how are we alive? And she never answers. She's like, oh, the land will heal. And it's like, okay, but are we dead? Like, are we dead? Like, or like, where do we go when the land heals and it's not the afterlife anymore? Because we're still dead. How's that work? And it, like, the book ends with her, arguably the best character is Waffles, the damn gargoyle. Easily the best character. I'm sad Waffles isn't in a different book that I actually liked, because I loved Waffles as a character. Great side companion. So Waffles turns to stone, is given away to the princess, and then that's it. We don't see him ever again. We don't see anybody ever again. Cerise, God knows what happened to her. I'm assuming there's going to be a spin-off book following the best friends Cerise and Belladonna, and Waffles is going to be included in that. So I don't think this is actually a standalone. I think this is going to have like a series of expansion books on it, if it does well enough. Because at this point, I don't know if they'll greenlight another book in this like expansive series. That's what it reads like, is there's so many open ends at the end of this book. What happens to Cerise, who literally we left fighting for her life? She could be dead. We don't know. The princess just took Waffles away, and the princess is kind of like half possessed still. The sisters disappeared. So I don't know if we even killed the queen. It wasn't very obvious if the queen was actually killed or just like banished somewhere, because again, the sisters disappeared. What were they? Where'd they go? Nothing was explained. And then, like I said, they died at the end and went to the other kingdom and were like, la 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 la. And was like, what are you talking about? This is insane. So like, yeah, no. The end really fumbled it. Because honestly, the beginning of the book, it's not good, but it wasn't heinous. It wasn't heinous. The end of this book is diabolically bad. It really is. So this gets a 1, and it is the worst book of 2026 so far. But would have been in the probably top 3 of last year if I read it last year. So this is upsetting. So let's pick the next one. Let's pick the next one, which is really sad because I have to go finish the Fairyloot Purge. I am behind. I gotta read 2 books by Sunday, and it's Tuesday. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I gotta go switch to doing that, and I don't want to. I don't want to read any more of these book boxes. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Which is so sad because this video started off so strong. A Rather Vengeful Accord was so good. Was so good. And then this one was a dumpster fire. It was a dumpster fire. So where does that leave me? I don't know. Like, I'm a little hurt right now. Like, my feelings are hurt because how bad it was. So anyway, that's 2 down for this video. I believe I have like a bunch of random extra stuff in here. I have like Vicious in here. I have, because this is also just my TBR bag in general. What else do I have in here? Oh, my Arc of Bone of My Bone. And then the Summer Queen. I was in the middle of this like middle of last year, and then I just never finished it. So we are down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books left. Violet Thistleweight, Where the Timeline Ends. I'll Meet You Where the Timeline Ends. Coldwire, Fallen City, and the House Sapphire. So I'm tired. This is exhausting. You know, it's bad when you read like a really bad book and you just feel drained. You feel drained. It's exhausting. It's sad. So I really hope that we like the next one, but I was right. Rather Vengeful Accord. I briefly thought about DNFing, but I never hit that point of wanting to DNF that badly, like page 150, I think is what I said, but I was okay. And I continued, and I'm happy I continued. So I'm glad I would have made the choice to continue. I was glad I continued. 7 Deadly Thorns, I wanted to DNF pretty fast, and it would have been better if I DNF'd it. So I was right with that one as well. So we are 2 for 2 of what my choices are. Back to the prompts. We have 5 books. Let's see what we have. A book with morally gray characters. Well, 7 Deadly Thorns. That's what that was. So we're not doing that. We're gonna pick another one. A book that has been adapted into a movie or TV show. That would not be any of these. I don't think any, I'm trying to think if the authors have had anything. Potentially Marissa Meyer, but I don't think so. So we're going to skip that one. This one, a dark academia book. That's what I just read. We're not doing that again. I don't think any of the other ones are dark academia anyway. Potentially the House Sapphire, but let's keep going. Let's keep going until we find something unique. A book with a murder mystery. That is the House Sapphire. I believe that is actually the House Sapphire, which, you know what, is probably a good break. Because this is going to be young adult, lighter fantasy with a murder mystery. Let's double check. Yeah. Infamous mansion where the first of the Saphir murders took place. So even if it's like an old murder mystery, that's totally fine as well. But when murder again comes to the House Saphir, Mallory finds herself at the center of the investigation. Perfect. Next book is The House Saphir. I've had good luck with Marissa Meyer so far. Fingers crossed that this one is so much better than 7 Deadly Thorns. On my bookshelf, so the sound might be a little bit funky. House Saphir. Where am I at? I don't like the cover, and also it's one of those heavy books, so it's too impossible to actually have the cover on it because the dust jacket just keeps sliding off. 53 pages into the House Saphir, and I'm liking it, and I'm a little concerned at the same time. Oh, I'm trying to think of how to talk about this one because it is a little bit weird. Like it's definitely different than I thought it was going to be. It opened up how I thought it was going to open up, but then something happened right before I stopped reading that I was like, huh. I feel like this wasn't the synopsis enough because that was really strange. So anyway, this is following our main character, Mallory, and she is, also wasn't expecting this to take place like in the past so much. Like I didn't say a date, so in my head it was taking place like current day, but it's definitely not current day. So this is following our main character, Mallory, who is an expert on Bluebeard. This is a Bluebeard retelling, but Bluebeard has already like existed and has already like killed the wives. This is more of like a ghost story and the generations that came like after him. So she basically, it opens up with her giving a tour of this supposedly haunted mansion, and you learn pretty early on that she sees ghosts and talks to ghosts, and that's kind of her big thing, which I like. I actually like ghost witchy kind of things. So she ends up meeting somebody. It says it in the synopsis, but I think it's like better not to know, even though I feel like it's pretty obvious. But she ends up meeting somebody, and they offer her basically a deal of saying, hey, I need you to kind of exorcise or figure out what's going on in my like ancestral home because some weird shit's happening. So it's like a murder mystery combined with like a ghost story. But the thing is, there's monsters in this, and I like there's a little line in the synopsis that says about the monsters, but like I wasn't expecting actual monsters for some reason. So like this like werewolf creature thing showed up. And it got a little cheesy, and that's where I'm a little bit worried because I loved the ghost part at the beginning. It was so fun. I loved when she was like trying to scare people. I loved it. I thought that was so fun. I didn't like the cheesiness that happened with the wolf stuff. It was a little cheesy and it was bordering on very young adult compared to the beginning of the story, which felt more older young adult. So I'm unsure right now. Obviously, this vlog, I am reading all of these. I think this one's gonna take a little bit getting used to, and I kind of have to like adjust my expectations for this one because I wasn't expecting the time period and I wasn't expecting the monsters. I think my brain was more focused on the ghost and the murder mystery aspect instead of getting chased by a werewolf. Like 50 pages in. It's very strange. So I need to adjust my expectations, and I'm going to continue reading tonight, and I'll let you know when I get a little bit further into the book. So I finished walking on the treadmill, and I also found out that the mop that I bought is actually broken. It actually took me a while to figure it out was broken too, because I thought I was just like not trying to screw it in correctly, and I was even trying to use it like half broken, so that's fun. So I'm gonna return that because it's totally defective. Like it's like the Easy Spin Mop by O-Cedar or something like that. And I guess I just got a defective one because the bottom piece, like the head, is not screwing into the handle. So you like will screw it in, but it's not catching. So it just like goes past like where it's supposed to like stop. And that's like where it sticks in. It goes past that point and it like restarts. Like, you know what I'm talking about. I feel like there's things that do that. Like something isn't like done correctly. If you're trying to screw it in, it'll hit the point where it's supposed to catch and then you tighten it, but it'll just go past it and it restarts the loop. So that's what it's doing. I even watched a tutorial of someone putting the stupid thing together just to make sure I wasn't being idiotic and missing what was happening. But no, I was putting it together correctly. It actively just is broken, which really sucks. So have to return that. Hate returning things. And then yeah, I walked on the treadmill for a little while, and it was kind of nice because it is cold again outside. So our garage was like really cold, so that was nice. And we do have an air conditioner in there, but I just don't like using the electricity to run the air conditioner in the garage, even though our garage is very well insulated. But I did read a little bit while I was walking on the treadmill, and I am to 162 pages or chapter 20 of The House Sapphire, and I don't think I'm particularly liking this book, and it's not like I'm hating it. There's just aspects of this book that I don't think it was plotted out very well, and I'm a little bit bored, and I think I can actually pinpoint why I'm not enjoying this book, and I think it's because it's trying to do too many things, and nothing is like done particularly well or engaging. The reason this isn't working for me is actually partially because of the time period. I just think it would have been more interesting actually if it was taking place now. I also don't think there should be monsters in this. It just feels so out of place. Like majority of the story is following these ghosts, which I'm actually really enjoying. The ghost parts I am enjoying. Anytime we talk about a creature or a monster, I highly do not enjoy it because it feels like it's a completely separate story. It's like she had an idea for two stories and decided to combine them. That is actively what it feels like. So on one side, we have Mallory, who's kind of dealing with these monsters. And on the other side, we have Mallory, who's being a ghost hunter and trying to get rid of this evil murderous ghost. So I wish that we had just taken the monsters out completely. I do think that they are just annoying in the story. I don't think they add anything. I think they're just a little bit silly. I also don't like that this is actually taking place in a fantasy world, and I think it's because I want this to focus more on the mystery. I think the mystery is the interesting part of this book, but because we're set in like a not current day, not Earth world, I don't know like what the setting is not well done in this. The setting is not well done. I don't know where we are. I don't understand like the world that we're supposed to be living in. I actually think it should have taken place in like New Orleans or something like that. I think that would have been really, really cool. A really interesting setting for this murder mystery. It could have been this gothic story. I just don't like the setting. I don't like the monsters. I don't mind anything else about it though. Like that's the problem, is like two parts of it I really highly don't like, and then the rest of it I'm like, actually I actually do like the rest of this. So I'm a little bit frustrated with this, and I really do think she just tried to do too much. She needed to simplify the book down, get rid of the fantastical setting, get rid of the monsters, keep it to a fun murder mystery retelling of Bluebeard, and I think that's all you needed because it's entertaining. The ghosts are really entertaining. It's just doing way too much. So I am going to continue. I don't think I would have, even if I was DNFing in this video, I don't think I would DNF yet because I am curious what's going to happen. It's not super keeping my attention, but it is keeping my attention enough that I'm willing to continue. So that's kind of where I'm at. Kind of wishy-washy right now. I'm just kind of iffy about it. Not happy, not unhappy, I guess is where I'm falling. So anyway, that is where I'm at. I'm going to continue reading. I'm actually like kind of, I really should be focusing more on this, but we just did the 48 hours of the readathon for Realmathon, and I'm also just reading other things because I'm just like not enjoying this immensely. So it's taking a lot of focus when I'm actually reading it. So what I'm actually listening to right now is Nevermore. My friend Alyssa is a middle grade fan, and I've been searching for a middle grade that I enjoy, and I'm loving it. I am loving Nevermore. So I need to go out to the store and actually go grab a new mop because I was literally in the middle of cleaning when I like finally gave up and realized it really is legitimately broken. So I need to go get a new mop, which is really annoying because I wasn't planning on going anywhere today, but I do need to go do that. And then I do need to pick up a couple of little grocery things and then continue reading this. I may try and switch to the audio depending on what the audio sounds like, because as of right now, just physically reading it, I'm kind of like whatever. So we may check out the audio. I'll let you know next time when I give you the next update. Terrible angle, but I'm about to lay down and because it's like 8:30 in the morning, but I'm up. I just want to finish this book. Like, that's where we're at. I'm kind of in a debate because I do need to run to the store because I didn't end up going yesterday, but I need to run to the store to replace the mop that was broken because I'm not going to get a replacement from Amazon. That was my mistake in the first place. I bought like $200 worth of cleaning stuff after I found out I was allergic to literally everything. And I was just on a shopping spree on Amazon for as much cleaning supplies as I possibly could find. And that was my first mistake. Everything else came fine, but it was the mop. So I know better. I should have just went to the store and bought all this stuff. But because I was buying so much, it was making me a little nervous. But yeah, so I need to go get a replacement for that. And I do actually want to run to the bookstore and actually grab a copy of Nevermore, which is crazy. But like, if I am loving a middle grade, I want to get it because that is the only part of my library that is like completely lacking. Like, I even have like 10, 15 like lit fic books. I have six middle grade books, and they are all Rick Riordan, and they're all in the Percy Jackson series except for the one underwater one, Daughter of the Sea. So if I'm really enjoying, and I don't really love those books either, which is sad. So if I'm really enjoying a middle grade, I would like to collect the series. So, and they're not very expensive. They're so much cheaper than regular books. Like, it's like $10 or something. That's crazy, especially for like how much content is. It's so good. I think that Nevermore is falling in definitely older middle grade to very young adults. Like, I have read some young adult that feels younger than this. Like, the main character obviously is middle grade aged. However, she is acting more adult than some young adult books that I've read. So I think a really good example was Blood Moon, that Twilight ripoff book. That character acted so much younger than the character in Nevermore. So I'm just really liking everything. It's so funny. It is like, I am actively cackling while listening to this book. So I'm having a great time with it. So I'm thinking I'm going to get a copy if they have it at the store, because I do know it's like an older title. But first, I'm finishing this. I am 78% in, or 300 and, oh gosh, what was that? Chapter 38. 300 and I switched to using a ribbon bookmark, and I knew better. Ribbon bookmarks, I never can open to them like easily when I'm trying to give updates. I'm on page 324, or like I said, chapter 38. So that's about right there. So you also have a harder time to see where I'm at. There you go. I am enjoying this book even less because the ending is exactly what I thought it was gonna be. Like, to a T. Very, very obvious. I am still hating and still not understanding the point of the monster hunting stuff. I think it all should have been cut out. I feel like the only reason it was in here were for these two like side characters to show up, but you can just make them ghost hunters. You don't have to do any monster. There's just no point in having any of this monster stuff in here. It's just such a distraction to the story. It adds nothing. It's really, really annoying. Oh, my hair is getting out of control under here. So I hate it. Like, I actively hate the monster stuff. I just think it's so random and it's so out of place. Anytime they come across a monster, I'm like, what the hell? What? I don't understand. And like, no. I was like trying to come up with like excuses and stuff, but no, there are no excuses for how poorly that side of the book was done. If you wanted that in there, it's just not done well. It doesn't work with any other parts of this book. Like, there is no point of having this in here. And I'm hoping, like, there's still 22% left in this book. About 100, I think it's 100 pages. Might be a little less at this point. I am hoping there is some other crazy twist that is going on, because the 2-3 twists that we've had so far have been so painful. And I don't know if the author thought they were like, and I like Marissa Meyer. That's what I'm like so confused about, is I love the Cinder series. Cinder series is so original. It's so interesting. This is one of the least original books I've ever read so far. That could change, obviously. But up until this point, it's poorly done and it's horrifically predictable to the point of actually not enjoying it. Like if the storyline was at least interesting and everything was done really, really well, at least there's that. But like, none of it's done particularly well because of the monster aspect, and the magic is just really funky in this world. It's not explained very well. And I think it's just doing too much. I think it's trying to do too much while also being the most predictable book that I've ever read. So yeah, I'm gonna finish it up, but I'm really disappointed. I'm really, really, really disappointed because, again, Cinder series is a 5-star nostalgic favorite for me. So I was very excited to read this, and now I'm really nervous to read, what is it, Gilded? Whatever her other duology is that I have copies of that I never read. Yeah, I'm really nervous to read those now, because if this is what her other books are like, I'm not going to be a fan. So let me go finish this up, and I'm going to let you know what I thought about it, and then we'll pick the next book. I have officially finished The House Saphir, and nothing changed. Nothing changed by the end of this book. I am gonna give it a 2.5, actually. I was thinking a 3, but I've talked about it before. A 3 is like, I have no real thoughts about it, like nothing like super negative, and it's more on like the middle of the road towards the positive. A 2.5 is middle of the road towards the negative. So I am gonna go with a 2.5 for this one. This is just such a missed opportunity kind of book, because it had the gothic vibes, but actually, you know what? It didn't even go there with that. Like, it needed more gothic vibes. It didn't focus on the house enough for the house to end up being such like an important thing at the end of the book. I don't know. This is a weird one to describe because it was nothing like what I was expecting. I continue feeling like the monsters did not need to be a thing. I did not like that part of the book at all. I didn't like those parts. Some of the stuff that happened at the end of the book got also really strange because we didn't understand the magic system in this world. It was kind of hard to figure out exactly what was going on at the end and what magic was doing what and what was happening. The romance was also pretty lackluster, to be honest. I feel like it kind of like, it wasn't really focused on that much, and then suddenly it was like, I'm in love with you kind of situation, which again, not a fan of. I do like the ghosts. That's what's killing me about this book, is the ghosts were so fun. The ghosts were interesting. The ghost hunting was great. I loved how this book opened up. I feel like we went away from the opening of this book way too soon. And it was just so painfully predictable. I haven't read a book this predictable in a very long time. I wasn't even like, there wasn't even like a secondary thought for what possibly could happen. It was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what is happening, and it was spot on. So to be that level of predictable, everything else about I said it before, everything else about the book has to be perfect, has to be really, really good, has to be very compelling. And unfortunately, the rest of this book did not live up to what it needed to overcome that predictability. So this just feels like such a generic, confusing fantasy. I don't know what genre this would fall into because it's not super fantasy. I would say, I guess it would fall into like just gothic, like because like a gothic mystery, I guess, because yeah, there's fantastical elements in it, but when I say fantasy, there's a certain element or thing that you kind of expect from a fantasy book, and this just doesn't feel like fantasy, and you can't really call it urban fantasy, because at least with like the Mortal Instruments, I would hesitate to call fantasy, but you have the modifier of urban fantasy, and Mortal Instrument books are urban fantasy, so that kind of like puts that modifier on it. Gothic fantasy, but there's like a murder mystery in this, kind of. It's not really. Like this, let me look at the synopsis, because I feel like so much was promised, and nothing was really delivered with this book. So I'm just disappointed. I feel like there was a good backbone for this, but it didn't know what it wanted to be. So it is getting a 2.5, and I'm really disappointed in it. I am glad that it seems like it's a standalone, because I don't know if I would continue reading anything in this. I could see there being a spin-off with like the sister or other characters, but I don't think we need another book in this. I think this is fine as a standalone for what it did. Yeah, I'm just really, really disappointed. So moving along, this is what's happening. I don't think I ever would have DNF'd that one though. That's the thing. There was never a point that I was like, I'm just gonna DNF this and not move along. Because of the author and because of I was curious how the book was gonna end, there was no moment that I was like, oh, I should have DNF'd this. But I should have probably DNF'd it because it was a 2.5, and I wasn't enjoying most of my time reading that book. So that probably would have been a candidate for a DNF if I didn't have such high expectations for that book. So 4 books left in our little book caddy. So I guess let's pick the next thing. I keep forgetting that I'm using these cards in like every video I'm doing right now. Like I've been using prompt cards so much, but I really enjoy them. It's fun. So we're gonna do it for this video. I don't think I'll do prompt cards again for this series, maybe later, because I'm using them for the Fairyloot purge right now. I don't want to have all my videos of prompt cards. So we have a sci-fi, an adult romantasy, a cozy romantasy, cozy fantasy, and then whatever this is. I don't know what this is. I think it kind of is sci-fi because it does have to do with like timeline stuff, but it seems more like contemporary romance potentially. So we have, and again, I'm going to be really lenient about what these prompts are because I only have 4 books. So whatever fits best. A book with a 1-word title. I think that's Coldwire. I think that's the only one. Let me see if Coldwire would be the closest, so I'd pick it no matter what. Because yeah, I'll Find Her Where the Timeline Ends, Violet Thistlewait, really long title. Fallen City is 2. I think Coldwire is 1 word, so I guess we're going with Coldwire. So this is, again, another highly anticipated book, Chloe Gong. I mostly enjoy Chloe Gong's books. I love this Violent Delight series. Oh my god, that duology is amazing. I still need to read Foul Lady Fortune. And then I loved Immortal Longings, hated Vilest Things, but it is on my list to reread as part of that did I actually hate this series kind of thing. So we'll be rereading that one. So hopefully I like it upon a reread. But this is their newest release, Coldwire. I have heard horrible things about it, but I also heard horrible things about Immortal Longings, and I loved Immortal Longings. So I think Chloe Gong is just a really controversial, not controversial, but either you like the writing or you don't. Generally, it seems a lot of people didn't like these Violent Delights either, and a lot of people hated Immortal Longings. So I'm hoping I like this because I generally like her writing. So Coldwire, I actually don't really know what this one's about. It is dystopian, 2 young soldiers who must depend on unlikely allies in their fight for survival. So dystopian. I am always in a dystopian mood. So, and dystopian is very, very important right now. So I'm hoping this is really good. I will let you know first 50 to 100 pages, just what the vibes are. So let's go read Coldwire. I just finished my virtual doctor's appointment. Has anyone ever had a virtual doctor's appointment? I was really scared. I was really scared. This is the first one I've ever had. It was to talk about my allergy testing. I don't know. I don't think I talked about it in this video, but I'm allergic to like everything, it turned out. and she was giving me basically the results. And she's like, yeah, I know that you saw all the stuff you're allergic to. You're allergic to like all the grass, all the trees. Surprisingly not mold, so that was a positive. She was very excited about that. But dust. So that's fun. So anyway, we're setting up allergy shots because I'm allergic to that many things, and I've tried so many different things, and I have like an ear issue. So I'm hoping that these allergy shots will fix whatever's going on with my ear, because I can't really find anything wrong with my ear, but something is wrong with it. So anyway, so I just finished that. We're gonna set up allergy shots, which I'm really nervous about, but hopefully they actually do something and I feel better, because that would be nice to have one thing out of the way, which is pretty much what she said. She was like, at least if you have the allergy shots, you'll know in a year. She said 5 to 6 months is generally when people start feeling better. You'll know at least like what allergies are affecting and what they're not affecting, and then you can go from there for other things. And I was like, that is actually a really good point. So let's do the allergy shots. Anyway, for the update, we are reading Cold Wire. I'm only 35 pages. I'm on chapter 3. I'm on 35 pages. I don't really like this. And actually it has higher ratings than I thought. It's got a 3.99. For some reason in my head I thought I had like a 3.6. This is a complicated one to talk about because I don't think there's anything okay, I was gonna say inherently wrong with the book, but I take that back. I take that back because there are actively things that I don't like about this book that are taking me out of the story. So we'll talk about those. But I don't have a problem with the writing. I don't have a problem with the characters so far. I just don't really like the world. It feels kind of like a shitty version. It's really mean wording, but it does. It feels like a cheap, shitty, not well-developed version of Ready Player One. So I'm really sad because like, you'd think I'd really, really like that. Ready Player One's 5-star. I absolutely love both of those books, actually. I'm a fan of the second one. I know a lot of people aren't, but I actually really like the second one and the John Hughes section in the second book. This is definitely a branch off of that. So this is following our two main characters. I know one is Leah because I just read an Ariel and Leah, and Ariel is currently working for I'm gonna get confused. So if you've read this book, I am so sorry for how much I'm going to botch talking about this book. So Ariel is already part of this like special forces unit. I'm gonna have to reread her chapter because I didn't understand the up country versus down country. Again, the naming conventions are not my favorite, but I think she works up country, but no, because this says Button City, which is Atahuan. So I'm so confused. Okay. So I'm gonna have to reread what I've read already. I'm good with Leah's chapter. I'm gonna have to reread the first chapter, now understanding some of the naming conventions. So our two main characters are Ariel, and like I said, I'm gonna be a little confused on her stuff, but she works for a private contractor, but like the government doesn't really have like military, so it's like everything like seems to be privatized. It's dystopian world. We're in the future. The world is basically completely collapsed, and we are now living in virtual reality. So you are basically barely living in the regular world. So that is a difference between Ready Player One. So Ready Player One, you did have to like leave. Like there's time locks on stuff. You have to come out, do stuff, go back in. In this, you can stay in for like months. Like there is a thing where you have like a day, it's a refresh day, but you can stay in there for days and you feel refreshed, you sleep in there. There's all sorts of technology, and problem is this technology does not exist, so it is definitely a little more out there. So I am giving that the benefit of the doubt because it doesn't exist, so it's going to be hard to explain. You have to come up with your own technology basically. So even if it wouldn't work in real life, kind of give it some grace. So anyway, I think I can't tell in the first chapter, again, I need to reread it, but in the first chapter, they're on a mission and they are trying to capture an anarchist. There are two countries, cities, something, that are kind of at war, and they're like the two main ones. So our characters are living in like the Atuan district, but a lot of them are sent to this other place. I think there is a map in here, which will be helpful. Medaluo. Oh, they're totally different continents. Okay. Medaluo is the other continent, and it seems like they are rival continents and they have been at war and stuff. But everyone has like the virtual reality technology. Now, I don't know if you have to, your physical body has to be in the other location. So currently, like I said, we're in Atua and we're near Button City, which again, the naming conventions, Button City. So Erla is working for the Atua government or the private sector. She's working for this company that basically works contract for the government. So they're trying to find this anarchist, and it opens up with this like big chase scene. She's working with a whole team, and I'm assuming the artwork in the front. Yeah, well, no, I don't know, because that's a boy. And we have two female main. I don't know. So let's see, this is how confused I am. This is how confused I am. I feel like if I were to get a better grasp on this book, I'd enjoy it more. So I'm hoping I start understanding a little bit more as we go on. There's just so much. It's kind of like the beginning of Crescent City. We were kind of reading it like, I have no idea what's going on for the first 100 pages. This is a similar situation. But anyway, so Airly, currently working at Atuan on a mission to catch an anarchist. Something goes amiss. It's not good, but she's going to end up having to work with him or turn herself in or something like that. Then we have our other main character, Leah. Leah, I understand more. She is currently going to school in the cyberspace. That's why it's so confusing. So she lives in Atua, I think near Button City, and she goes to a private academy that I think Erla probably went to as well, but they're going to a private academy, and she's basically learning to become an operative. And so once you graduate, you're given like different types of assignments, and one of the big assignments is actually to go to the other country, what is it called again? Medaluo? I'm saying these totally wrong, but this is what you're getting. Medaluo. Med. You're sent to Med as one of the things. So Leah already assumes that she was going to be sent there because there are like refugees. There's a refugee situation in this that I'm not, again, 100% sure, because there was a war. So there's like orphans from other countries that live in Atulua. And if you're there, you're automatically given the last name Ward, because you're basically a ward of the state. And so you are automatically enrolled in military school, and you are most likely going to go travel and be a spy in another country, because that's just how it works, I guess. So Leah is top of her class. She is a ward, which so is our main character. So both characters are wards. So she already assumes that she's going to be sent there, but she still wants to like be top of her class, because you do get better assignments based on that. And she does have a rival. So that's kind of where we're at, if that makes sense. But there's up country and down country. And this is where it took me a little bit while to figure this out. Down country is real life. It doesn't actually mean like you're physically down country from somewhere. You are just in reality. You are in your physical body. If you're up country, then you are in your virtual reality body. And so there's like a sickness, I don't remember what it's called, but there's a sickness that you can actually start getting confused, like which is which. Like when you're in your real body, you are confused and you feel like you're made of pixels, and it's some sort of sickness where you start like cutting yourself and stuff like that because you think you're fake and you're trying to prove to yourself that you're real. So that is brought up in here as well, which I find interesting, because I don't think that was something that was in Ready Player One. Probably, again, because they weren't in it as long as, well, no, I think they did bring up some sort of sickness. Anyway, that's the problem. Ready Player One is in my head regarding this book. Even though, like, the actual, like, point of the books is totally different. Like, the first book was obviously the competition and more about video games and stuff. This one is definitely going to be more about spies and the actual virtual reality. But it's definitely weird because they've already brought up, there's just, like, too many rules already when I don't understand other things. So they were talking about the difference between the current country that we're in, At, versus Med. That's how I'm going to say it. At versus Med. So currently in At, they talked about plastic surgery and how you actually have to go to like a plastic surgeon in virtual reality to get work done and pay money and all that kind of stuff for it. But in Med, they've completely disabled it, so you cannot alter your virtual reality face at all. You'd have to do it like down country and then update your citizen ID in upcountry. So there's different rules based on different countries, but it does look like both of our characters are going to be dealing with Med as At wards, potentially everyone being spies. And so yeah, that is the best explanation that I can give you. But I just don't like the naming conventions. Button City, I don't like that. Up country, down country, I don't love that. I'm sure it'll grow on me, but I don't love those naming conventions. And it just is so confusing. I wish we had just gotten like an actual explanation of things at the beginning a little bit better instead of just absolutely throwing us in here, because we have been thrown to the wolves in this book. 35 pages in. If this was not Chloe Gong, if it was not a Fairyloot book, or it was not a book box subscription book that I got, if I had just gotten this from the library, I probably would have returned it and not continued, because I'm just not enjoying my time reading this so far. But I am only 35 pages in. I need to give it more time. I'm just a little frustrated with it, trying to understand it, because again, it was very similar to Immortal Longings. A lot of people said they had issues understanding and following along with the story in Immortal Longings. I was lucky and did not for that story. That's what I'm feeling in this, is I'm having a hard time following along. So that frustrates me. Didn't like it in Crescent City. I'm not enjoying it in this. So hopefully everything just starts to mesh more in my brain. Things start to make sense. And that way I can just enjoy my time reading this, because if I don't understand the entire story, this is going to be a long couple days reading this book. So anyway, let's continue Cold Wire. Hopefully it gets better. I am on chapter 19 of Cold Wire, about 47% into the book. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's not my style of book, which is weird to say because I love Ready Player One, but Ready Player One had like humor to it, and I really liked how they did the science-y stuff in there, and I liked that it was video game specific, and I liked the competition. There was just a lot that I liked in there, and I never felt like I had to suspend my disbelief. I feel like in this one I'm having to suspend my disbelief for certain things that are happening, and like there's certain things happening that I'm like, why are we choosing to do it this way? Based on us being able to be in alternate reality. It just seems weird. Like the world, just to my brain, does not make a lot of sense. The upcountry, most of the upcountry, the stuff happening in upcountry just like doesn't make so much sense to my brain, which is bad because I like the characters and what's happening in upcountry better than downcountry. So that's where we're having some issues, because I honestly could do without the downcountry chapters at all. I don't care for them. I don't really care about the characters. I don't really care about the storyline. I feel like the first interesting thing just happened in that storyline. Otherwise, I don't give a shit about the storyline. And I am very upset. I'm very, very upset because this is a highly anticipated release. I really thought I was gonna love this book. And now I'm like, okay, have we hit the turning point in Chloe Gong books? Have we hit the point where after Immortal Longings, after we were done with that one, I'm just not gonna like her books anymore or something because I didn't like Violet's Things, and I didn't even read the third book in that series. Oh no, that's not out yet. No, it's not out yet. Didn't like Violet's Things. I don't even know if I finished that book. And now we have Cold Wire, and I'm not enjoying it. And Cold Wire definitely, in my opinion, the writing feels much more similar to Immortal Longing and Violet's Things than it does to These Violent Delights. So I am curious if I go back and read Foul Lady Fortune, if I'll actually really enjoy it, or I don't know, unless my like taste has just changed in writing. But I don't even think it's the right. I don't know. I think I just don't like the plot. I just don't find this plot that interesting, and there's like too many things going on that are not explained, and everything is so confusing. Because like, for example, I have a slight correction from the first section of me talking about this, or the last section of me talking about this. I talked about the plastic surgery thing and how they have like restrictions on it I'm even listening to it at this point and I still can't tell you what they're called. Whatever, our main place, Athallo, what is it called? And she said it really weird. Atahu. I don't remember how she said it in the audiobook because I re-listened to the word like 7 times and I'm never gonna be able to say it. In Atta, they have like restrictions and stuff and you have to match like your avatar. And I said in Med, still can't say that either. In Med, I said that they had it not allowed at all, and that's actually not the case. It's like totally unrestricted there. Like you can make your avatars look like whatever you want. So I did screw that up because there's just so much information that those little things are just like, oh my gosh, what is happening? So unfortunately, this one is not for me. I would DNF if this was a regular video. So officially at 220 pages, I would DNF this book. I probably would have DNF'd it earlier than that. But at 220 pages, I officially am like, I don't want to read this anymore. I don't want to read this anymore. I don't care what happens. I do know there's supposed to be a really, really good twist at the end, but like, is it worth reading the rest of the book to get to this twist? Because it's like 500, no, it's only 400 pages. The book is only 400 something pages. This seems way longer. How long is this book? Okay, no, it is closer to 500. Okay, 483. Do I really care enough to read a 483 page book just to like enjoy the last 20%? Normally the answer is no, but I guess we're going to answer that because I am going to continue reading it. So I am listening to the audiobook. I have Spotify hours, so I'm going to listen to it on there. I'm going to play Pocopia. I did indeed end up buying a Switch too, just to play Pocopia, and you know what? I don't regret it. I'm having a great time. It is distracting me from this, which I'm not enjoying, so I'm just like sitting here really disappointed. Like, I don't see this being higher than a 3. To be honest, it's looking more like a 2.5 as well. So I'm really hoping for something insanely strong at the end of this book that's going to redeem it and make me feel like, oh, I actually do like this and I can appreciate the build up to the ending. Because right now I'm just really bored. I'm having to suspend my disbelief. I just don't like how the world's built. That's what it's really coming down to. Is I am neutral about the characters. Again, I like Leah and Kieran. I like them. I don't like how the world's built. I don't like half of the book because I don't care for one of the perspectives. And I have to suspend my disbelief because it just doesn't feel like it works. Stuff in this just does not feel like it works. So I'm going to continue reading. I'm just going to read. I'm just going to finish it. Like, normally I'd be like, okay, I'll update you in another like 100 pages or something. No, I'm just going to finish this book and let you know what I think about it. Hopefully it gets better. I have finished Coldwire and I am so happy to announce that I ended up enjoying the end of this book. I'm still not willing to give it, I don't know what I want to give this. I'm like between a 3 and a 3.5, but I hate giving quarter points. Like a 3.25 feels right, but I hate giving quarter points. Like, it's just really, really annoying. So I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. I think this series could get really, really, really good. I think it was just a little bit confused how it wanted to get its point across. And it was doing a very complicated twist that I have seen in some books, and it's one of my favorite twists if it's done well, and it was done well in this book. Like, this actually ended up being very well thought out for the twist specifically. Now, I did guess what was happening because I have read quite a few mystery thrillers, and that is something that actually has happened in quite a few mystery thrillers that I've read. I haven't read it as many times, or if ever, in like a sci-fi fantasy book. So I appreciated that because, like, not only are you juggling this crazy, very intricate, easily to screw up twist, because everything has to work. If it does not work, then it will be very obvious that something is wrong. So not only are you dealing with that, but you're also dealing with a brand new world that you have to build as well. So that is very impressive that that was done in this book. And I think it was generally well done character-wise. Now, the actual issue that I have with this book, I talked about it before, but it is the actual plot, like the missions that they were on. The missions were where I struggled and where my brain struggled to comprehend what was going on. I also generally struggled with the world because of how it was delivered to us. Then I finished this book, and I generally, because I'm still a little bit like shaky on some aspects of this book. Now that I generally understand everything in this world and we have set up a second book, I actually do think a second book has the capacity to be amazing because we're not juggling this very intricate twist and we're not juggling building a very complicated world, because it is a very complicated world. So that being said, I'm giving it a 3.5. I pretty much have already said everything that I wanted to for this book, so I don't have that much more to add other than I do think it was a really good twist at the end. Other than I just wish some of this had been pared down, simplified. I think I would have enjoyed this significantly more. But again, I think the rest of the series could be really, really good. I love the setup of this one, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So that was Coldwire. I am very excited that I did not end up hating this because I did end up having to switch to audiobook while I played Pocopia. And luckily, I did have to stop with the audiobook because it got even more confusing when I listened to the audiobook. But I did listen to about 20%, and then I was like, okay, it's starting to get more interesting, so let me switch back to reading it, and then I physically read the rest of the book. So starting at about 75% is really when the book picks up and everything starts to mesh and make sense and work together, and you're like, okay, I see where the threads were. They were planted a little bit interestingly, as in a little bit hard to follow, but they ended up working in the end, even if it wasn't my favorite way of trickling the information to you, but it ended up working at the end. So 3.5, happy I ended up liking it. We got 3 books left, and they are shorter. I think we are done the longest of the books, and we are onto the shorter of the books. Fallen City is a little bit long, but everything else is relatively short. So we still have Violet Thistleweight. We have I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends. And like I just said, we have Fallen City. So again, with these prompts, it's going to be closest because now that we're down to 3 books, like some of these they're not gonna match. It's going to be closest wins. So let's see what we're going to get. I like just picking from the middle. A science fiction book. So that fit what we just had. However, I'm going to say closest to science fiction is I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends, because for me, time travel is very science fiction-y. I know this is more contemporary. Ooh, no, this is heavy fantasy. Never mind. I love how I've been talking about this book like I knew what it was about, and apparently I didn't. But this has, like, dragons and stuff in it, so never mind. None of these are science fiction, so let's try another one, because that definitely is not going to work there. I wasn't expecting a dragon aspect of it. Ooh, they're all about to fall. I wasn't expecting that. A book with an animal companion. I don't think off the bat I can think of an animal companion for these. Maybe Violet Thistleweight, but I don't see an animal like on the covers of any of these except for the dragon, but I think we turn into a dragon. There's a dog and like a dragon thing on this one. But if it's not obvious, I'm not gonna pick it. Okay, let's try again. Let's try again. I told you it was gonna get harder as it went on. A book you bought for the cover. I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends. That actually is perfect because Fairyloot, I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends, I didn't have a subscription, and I actually saw the cover. And I was already interested in the book, but what really sold me was the cover. Like, I was not gonna get Fairyloot. But then I saw the cover and I loved the design of it, so that's why I ended up getting it. So we're gonna go with I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends. This one really wanted to win. First I thought it was sci-fi, then it's for this one. So I think this is the correct choice. But this is a shorter one. I'm excited to have something a little less, oh gosh, it's timeline things. I hope it's not complicated. My brain cannot take complicated after Cold Wire. Cold Wire used every ounce of my brain power to get through because it was just not following these threads like it was supposed to be doing. And I'm sure other people have an easier time with Cold Wire. My brain just did not like it in regards to following certain aspects of it. But hopefully this is simpler. I am happy it's much shorter. So let's go read I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends. I really thought I could do it, guys. I really thought that I could read every single book in this video with no DNFs. I have failed, but I've read 37% of this book and I hate it. I really hate every single thing about this book. There are almost no redeeming qualities about this book. The only thing that I like is when they are actually laser focused on these like moments in time that they are trying to work on specifically. So this is following our main character Mina, and she is a agent. They're called like descendants because they can fix the timelines, and there's rogue descendants that go around and mess with the timeline, so their whole job is to keep the timeline on a steady pace. However, obviously with that job and with that power there comes corruption. So the idea is that there have been some people deleted that probably shouldn't have been deleted because they were doing things that the organization deemed inappropriate, so they were deleted from the timeline. So our main character's focus is to find somebody that has been deleted from the timeline supposedly, and she ends up teaming up with somebody else who also knows someone who is supposedly deleted from the timeline. So her whole thing is like she's like almost like an apprentice, or like she's doing like an internship or something like that. Like she's not a fully fledged agent, but she'll go on these like little mission things, and I'm like, these are fascinating. This is what I wanted. Unfortunately, most of the book is not about those little missions. It's just her rambling about bullshit. Like, that is literally what this book is. Like, when we had like the little missions are like the tiniest little parts of this book, and that is so unfortunate because it is the most interesting. So unfortunately, I really don't like this, and the time travel's goofy too. I don't understand the time travel. So if I'm not understanding the time travel, I'm not gonna understand the rest of the book. So unfortunately, I can't. I hate how it's written too. Like, Kylie Lee Baker, I had an issue with Bat Eater, and I didn't like how Bat Eater was written, but I thought this would be a little bit different. I don't like how this is written either. So I'm starting to think that potentially Kylie Baker may not be the author for me, but I do have one more book, and it is a Fairyloot book, The Scarlet Alchemist. So whenever I read that, I feel like that's gonna decide. Well, actually, I have Japanese Gothic that I'm gonna read as well. So I don't know. I did like Bat Eater better than this. This felt like an adult who was play acting as someone who thinks they know what teenagers talk like. You know those like really cheesy 2000s teen movies where you have like that one teacher that like thinks that they're really cool and they use all the phrases, or the one adult, like I think in Mean Girls it was Regina's mom. This is how that's written. Like, she thinks this is how teenagers talk, but it's like you can really tell. So I'm a fan of young adult books. I am growing out of them like a little bit, but generally I actually really enjoy young adult books, and you can tell a imposter from a mile away. So there's a very specific way that you have to write young adult books, and it's the people who do well in young adult understand that teenagers generally talk like adults do. They just have heightened emotions. Like their crushes are very intense. Like, the way that they react to things is just very, very intense. And that's like the biggest difference in young adult, and a lot of the sexual content, obviously, for like romance and romantasy. Books like this, when you can sniff out an author that doesn't necessarily know how teenagers speak to each other or how teenagers think, they just make them very, very young and make them say just really, really cringy things that literal teenagers would be like, no, not a chance. Like, wouldn't be caught dead saying those things. Well, and it's not even like, I think teenagers obviously are incredibly cringy. I'm 30 years old. Like, in my 30s. I think teenagers are really cringy, but they're not cringy to each other. I feel like that's what I'm trying to get at. The way that teenagers talk in here, it's not like hip. It's not like cool. It's really cringy things that other teenagers would find cringy. So that's, yeah. So that's what I'm trying to get at. So it's just incredibly cringy. It doesn't read young adult. It reads more younger, reads more middle grade, and that these characters don't know what actual age they are. And I really don't like the time travel. I don't like the time travel. I'm so picky about my time travel. It has to be done super well. Like, it has to be done immaculately. Unmaking of June Farrow, love the time travel in that. The time travel in this is convenient and doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I don't understand the time travel 30% in. So I am DNFing this one. I know I said I wasn't going to do it. I feel less guilty about DNFing this one because this was not part of a subscription. This was like my tester to see if I liked their editions to then start a subscription, which I think I am going to cancel my subscription to them relatively soon. I'm not loving the choices that I've seen. It's a pain in the butt to skip. You actually have to email them, which is like one of my fears in life, which they know. Book box companies would have so many less skips if they just said you had to email them. It's much more work, but you would have way less skips if you said you had to email them to skip, because hate doing that. I've gotten 2 books, I think, already from them that I wasn't necessarily sure I wanted to read because I didn't want to email them. So that is on me, but we'll see. I have 3 so far. I have 3 more coming. I have 1 in my possession, and then I have 2 more coming, and we're gonna kind of see from there how I'm feeling about them, because I will say I don't love how this book is formatted, but I don't know if that's like, look at the margins on the top. Like, that's crazy. Like, it's the things on the bottom. So I guess that makes sense, but like the margins are crazy up here, and the pages, you see how thin the pages are? They're so thin, like uncomfortable to read thin. So I'm not loving that. I love everything else about it, but I don't love that. So This one I feel less bad about because it wasn't on a subscription purchase. It was a separate one-time purchase, so kind of skating the rules a little bit. But that means we have 2 left, and I will be reading both of these. The thing is, I really hated every aspect I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends. I know it was going to be a 1-star. 37% in. Hated everything about it. There was no redeeming that book. So that's why I'm like, I'm okay with flaunting the rules. If there's any chance of redemption, like with Coldware, I wanted to DNF, but I'm like, there were aspects of it that I was enjoying. So I was like, yes, I need to continue reading it. So that's kind of like why I don't feel as bad about that one, because I hated it 20 pages in. Like, immediately hated it. So anyway, we have Fallen City, which is the adult Fairyloot, and Violet Thistleweight. I don't know which one I want to read. I'm kind of just like, ugh. I'm very like, ugh, right now because I just spent like 3 hours reading I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends, only to give up because I could not do it anymore. But yeah, so we're gonna see. So this card is gonna decide our order. So obviously, whichever one I pick, that one I read now, and then the other one I read afterwards. So again, closest we can get. A book set in space. Okay, that's not it. Then we have a book with time travel. No, don't get me started on that. I'm just gonna pick them all out. An urban fantasy book. I don't think either one of those. I'm not gonna bother checking. We're just, again, as close as possible. A book that is friends to lovers. No, I think I looked at that before. A book with werewolves. No. A book with dragons. Dragons. I saw a dragon on the artwork. Now, does that mean that there is a dragon? No. It's called Dragon's Rest. So I'm going to count it. So there's literally like a dragon on the cover and it's called Dragon's Rest. So I'm going to count that, and we are going to be reading Violet Thistleweight next. And that means we are ending the video with an author I have given a 5-star before, Fallen City by Adrienne Young. We are going to read Violet Thistleweight. This is a cozy fantasy, which is a little bit nerve-wracking, but we're gonna hope it's good. We're gonna hope it's fun. We're gonna hope it's just like a cute little cozy time. About 50% into Violet Thistleweight, and I'm having a fantastic time. I'm so excited. This one I feel like was the one I was actually worried about like the most, because it is a cozy fantasy, but I am loving the vibes of this book. I feel like my only problem is I actually did opt to listen to it on audiobook because I was nervous that because it was a cozy fantasy, and I generally like my cozy fantasies better on audio. But now I'm kind of regretting that decision because I think it could be a 5-star if I slow down and physically read it. So I'm like, do I restart this? Like, I don't think I need to like restart it entirely. I just think I need to go back like 50 pages and start physically reading from that point. But I don't know, because like I think my problem right now is I don't like that the romance has already started at 50%. Definitely with my cozy fantasies, I like a romance that is drawn out for the entire book. So that might just be the problem, and it might not actually be a reread situation. I also don't like rereading. Like, I'm gonna say that right now. I'm not the biggest fan of rereading things. So I might just try and read the rest of the book physically. I might skim a couple of the last couple chapters, physically read the rest of the book to see if that adjusts my opinion of it. But I do think it mostly that we've started the romance too early for a cozy fantasy, especially because again, I'm a massive slow burn kind of person. Like, I want 2 or 3 books of slow burn and then the romance starts. I want the pining. I want the intense pining for pages and pages and pages. And that's why, especially in my fantasy books, obviously romance is a different kind of story. Although generally that is still what I like Love Hypothesis, the whole book is intense pining, and then like it actually kicks off at the end. So that's just like what I prefer. So the fact that they've kissed halfway through, I'm like, so I think that actually is where it's losing me. However, I love the plot. I love the plot. This book actually could have had no romance and I would have been totally fine. Like, I really am enjoying the plot. I like the setting. I like the characters, the side characters, the main character. I really enjoy her story. And I just think it's so fun. I love the stupid knife-wielding plant. Like, I'm kind of obsessed with it. Like, it's so much fun. This reminds me a lot of my love for the spell shop, but I actually like how this book is written better. I actually like how attached I am to these characters more. So like the spell shop, I really enjoyed. I really like the main characters, but I didn't feel like super connected to the main character. I feel very connected to the main character in this book, and I do like that it's multi POV, although part of me thinks that maybe that is the problem, is we're having his point of view, so we know how obsessed he is too quickly with her. So maybe I just need to see him pining from her point of view, and I would have liked that a little bit better. But either way, I'm still very much loving this book. This kind of what I'm commenting on is why it's not a 5-star in my brain currently, because that's the thing, like I'm critiquing it, but that's because I really wanted it to be a 5-star, because it was at the beginning, like I was like, these are the vibes. Anyway, I don't even know if I told you what this is about. This is following Violet Thistlewhite, who was the apprentice or like assistant to a villain, but like actually a really bad villain. It's not like the cutesy villain like an assistant to the villain. This is like legit bad villain. And so something happens with the villain, and she ends up moving to Dragon's Rest, which is the little cottage town outside of the evil manor. And she decides that she wants to open a flower shop, kind of get her life back on track and actually be like a good person. And obviously she ends up sharing a shop space with a very grumpy the alchemist. So it's really cute. It's cute. I'm enjoying it. I love the setting. I'm going to continue reading this. I will let you know my rating when I finish it. I am so excited that I just finished Violet Thistlewhite, and actually this is the cover that I'm going to be displaying. I love this cover. I think it matches the book so well, so this is definitely what I'm going to go with. No, I didn't give it a 5-star, but it is getting a super solid 4-star. Now I'm really sad that I didn't actually end this video with this one. Like I really wish I'd picked Fallen City first, because this was a hit. I'm really excited what this book did. I feel very similarly to this as I did with the spell shop. Basically everything that I said earlier is how I continue to feel throughout the rest of the book. The romance did for me went a little bit too fast, especially for a cozy fantasy. I wanted to drag out a lot longer. There was definitely more spiciness than I normally like in my cozy fantasies as well. However, I was expecting it, so I'm not mad about it. It wasn't super cringy, like they were fine. They were not super over the top. I like how it ended. It was a little bit on the cheesier side for what I normally like, but I do like one twist at the end that I kind of like. I did not see it coming, but like all the signs were there for it, and I absolutely love that moment that everybody kind of like piped up and said something, and I was like, that was so good. I love that. It was so good. Yeah, I just don't have that much else to say. I think this is incredibly solid cozy fantasy. This goes in my list of favorite fantasies. Obviously, it did not beat out the witch books by Sengu Mandana, I think. I don't know how to say her name exactly, but she does the Secret Society of Irregular Witches and Magical Innkeeping. Did not beat that out, but it feels closer to that. Like I would put this one above the spell shop, but below those two. I am really excited that I found another cozy fantasy that I really enjoy. So that leaves us with one final book. Really scared because I saw the ratings, and I didn't mean to. Like I was trying to go into most of these without knowing the ratings really. And I guess like A Rather Vengeful Accord, those ratings like aren't good either, and I loved that book. So hopefully that is a similar case to this, because it's got a 3.6, and that's really scary, especially for a romantasy book. So yeah, I don't know. And I'm also very picky about gods, and I think this is god related. I think in the great walled city of Azara, political turmoil ignites a rebellion 100 years in the making, but when a legionnaire falls in love with a magistrate's daughter, their love will threaten the fate of the city and the will of the gods. Okay, yeah, so there are gods in here like I thought. So it just depends how they're done. It depends how they're done if I'm gonna enjoy this or not. But I have loved an Adrian Young before, so I have my fingers crossed that I'm really gonna enjoy this. I am on chapter 8 or page 75 of Fallen City, and I'm absolutely loving it. I am loving every second of reading this. I'm taking my time reading it because I actually looked at my schedule and I kind of moved some stuff around, but I have some time to read this. And I'm loving it. I'm loving the vibe. I'm loving the slow burn. The world building is so good. It's so good. I am so confused though, because I think this guy's like a 3.6 on Goodreads, so I really was like, what's going on? So now I'm afraid that this book gets like really bad or something. Then I have to remind myself that there's a lot of books that are rated like a 4.4 and that I thought were just mediocre, so maybe this one's just more my taste and isn't other people's, but I am obsessed with this so far. This is following our main character, well, two main characters. One is, I wasn't expecting this, but our main character really is Luca. I feel like so far, I feel like we know more about him. We have had more like of his story city, but we're following Luca, who is a legionnaire, and we're also following Maris, who is part of the magistrate. And what's complicated about that is that they are currently at war, but this is actually, I love this. It's told in current and before, but it's done in a very fun way that actually works really, really well. I think it meshes the timelines impeccably. So it actually starts with current day, and you kind of have the setup of Luca versus Maris, or basically the outside versus the inside city, the inner city. And we're kind of given some of like the intricacies of not exactly why it's happening. Like the why is definitely trickling to us, but we're given the stakes, and the stakes are high. They're so incredibly high. And we're told right off the bat that something is going on between the two of them, but we're also in the before time getting trickled their romance or their interactions. So in the current day, they're not interacting because they're in two totally different parts of the city. They physically cannot get to each other. And then in the before, they haven't met yet. So it's so good because even though we know they're going to be together, we're not actually seeing them interact yet. So I would consider this a slower burn currently because they have not interacted yet, like, which is crazy, 75 pages in, and I'm still hooked. Like, I feel more connection between them than I do in books that the characters meet on page 20. So I'm loving that. We'll see where it goes from here, but I'm having a great time, and that's kind of all that I have to say about it right now, because again, there's not that much that's happening. That's pretty much everything. They're just trying to figure out strategies of how to take over the town. Our character Maris is trying to figure out what to do actually inside of the city, but also stay alive. There's just a lot of political maneuvering and political intrigue, and I do love my political intrigue, especially when it's done pretty well. So we're going to continue reading this, probably update about halfway through. Hopefully I'm still loving it. I accidentally left the book downstairs, but I was filming my April TBR. Yeah, April. And so I figured I would just very quickly update because I don't actually have a ton to say, but I am 50% into Fallen City. And it has significantly lowered my interest. My interest has taken a nosedive halfway through this book because it's just not doing anything. Like, I feel like we are in the same place right now that we were when I first updated you and where we started in the book. I feel like nothing is progressing. And I really liked how the book was told at the beginning, but because nothing has progressed, it does feel more like a lot of telling and not showing, especially the relationship, and it's losing me a bit. I'm not finding any urge to really want to pick it up, which is unfortunate. I don't think it necessarily is bad. I don't think it's doing anything wrong. I just don't think it's particularly interesting, and that's a pretty big sin for a book, especially a book that I want to read for entertainment purposes. So I don't dislike it. I don't want to DNF it. I just wish it would just pick up a little bit. Like, nothing is happening. Like, absolutely nothing. I feel like we're still getting backstory 53% into the book. So I just need a little bit more. Because, like, our first hint of something going on, something happening, sneaking around, it was, like, immediately thwarted. So it wasn't even that interesting. I need more intrigue. Most of this book is, like, Luca whining. And then Maris kind of not really doing anything either, like trying to figure out her plans, but it's just like both of our characters are flying by the seat of their pants. Like, they have no plan, and it shows. Like, it shows that they are not equipped to deal with what is happening. And so instead of taking action, instead of doing things, it's just a lot of talking, and mostly to themselves. It's a lot of inner dialogue with themselves of what to do, but not knowing what to do. So I need it to pick up. I need some more intrigue. I need some more political maneuvering, which there's a lot of political maneuvering, but it's nothing to do with like our main characters very much. It's like other people around them. Like, they're not doing much. They don't even have to be in the story. Like, you could replace them with completely random people and they wouldn't really be important. Kind of. Luca, yes. Maris, not really so far. Like, she's really just kind of there. Like, Luca at least is doing something in the current day, but otherwise he just exists. But otherwise, like, and especially in the past, like, they just kind of exist. So it's unfortunate. I'm not hating it or anything. It's just it is sitting more at like a 3 instead of like a 4.5, which is what it was at the beginning. So hopefully it gets a lot more interesting in this back half of the book, but I am a little nervous now. Just finished my walk and also finished Fallen City. So we are officially done with this vlog. Thank goodness. I feel like I've been reading it for forever. And unfortunately we are ending this on a 3-star. So I mean, it could be worse, but I'm really upset about this being a 3-star. I was really hoping this could be like a 4 or 5 because I've loved an Adrian Young before, but this book was really boring. Like, that's what this comes down to, and that's why it is a 3, because I didn't hate anything about it. So I'm not gonna give it a 2.5 like with the House Saphir, but I didn't find it particularly interesting. So I think what I would have wanted for this book, and when I say stuff like this, because I don't want to be presumptuous, I'm not a writer. I do sometimes when I read a book, I will notice if I think I would like the book better if it was structured differently. And this is definitely one of those books that I was actively reading and thinking, okay, if it had been structured this way, I think I actually would have ended up loving it. But because of the way it ended up being structured throughout the entire book, I think is what lent to it being quite boring. I talked about it before, but it's in a before point of view and it's in a current point of view. And the current point of view was really, really interesting at the beginning of the book, how it opened up. I thought it was really cool. It opened with the city already having fallen, basically. And you're following the old faction versus the new guys. And then you're given these before points of views to lead up to the point where you're at right now in the current day and what led to the decisions that were made and what led to the city falling. Nothing happened in the current day. Nothing happened. Like, it was a lot of walking around, a lot of posturing, a lot of just inner turmoil that, to be honest, was good for like 1 chapter, and you kind of got the point. And then what really was important was the before chapters. And so what I think I would have wanted from this book, because I loved how it opened, I loved being in the city fallen, and that's how we started the book. I think we should have had a long prologue with how this already started. So basically open the book up with the city already fallen, be in the future instead of calling it present, call it future, or you can call it present. So be in the present and basically, yeah, open it up explaining who the 2 main characters are, show both of their perspectives in the prologue, and open up with seeing the magistrates hanging from the wall. And that's how the book opens, and you already like are getting that the city has fallen. And then the rest of the book should have just been the before, because the thing is, the before was the most interesting, but it was like skipping dates. It was skipping time because you had half the book in the before, half the book in the current day. So because half the book of an already not like super, super long, but like I know it's 412 pages, it doesn't feel that long. Like, this does not feel long for 412 pages. So I would have preferred cutting like the entirety of the current day stuff, because again, nothing really happened in it. Cutting all of that and just doing the lead up and basically keep it 412 pages and basically get to like, I don't know, 350 or 380 around there and meet up with the prologue. So basically make the whole book a lead up to that point where you're with the prologue, and then have this crazy thing happen. Like, you can keep the ending of this. Like, you can keep the ending, but nothing in the current day like led up to that. You didn't need that. Just do the before, lead up to the prologue, have the crazy ending like what happened in here. And then the second book is the stuff like of current day now. And I think I would have loved this if you had just been able to explore the before and more of the politics and more of the romantic relationship. That really was, it didn't work in this because of how split it was. It didn't work. It did at the beginning, and then they got together too quickly because you didn't have enough time to explore it in the before because you split the timeline. So I think this did not need to be split timeline. I think it should have opened up in the current, and then the whole book should have been the before leading up to the current. And I think it would have been a 5-star, 4 or 5-star probably. But as this is, because nothing happened for most of the book, and the before was too fast-paced because you couldn't explain things, it's only a 3, and I just wasn't very interested in the book. Now, will I read the sequel? I will try it. I don't know if I'll like it, but I am going to keep this. I never at one point wanted to DNF it. I was interested enough to continue, but generally it was just really, really boring. And I didn't feel any way about the characters either. And I think that was also because of the split timeline. It just didn't work for me. I think the second book's called Chosen Son, I think. I think I just saw like the US cover of it. But anyway, we are officially done with this. So let's do a very, very quick recap, and then we can end this and move on to the January 2026 books. And I'm still workshopping how I want to pick the books for January 2026. Oh, and I forgot at the beginning, I'm supposed to like rank these. So let's rank them really fast of how I felt about the covers, and how I thought I was gonna like these books, because I forgot to do that at the beginning of this and I really enjoy doing that. Cover-wise, this is my order of loving the covers. So Coldwire and Fallen City are about similar. I love both of those covers. Coldwire is my favorite. It is absolutely gorgeous. And then at the bottom we have the House Sapphire. I actively hate the cover. So I'm not that upset about not liking it because I do plan to get rid of it. Basically everything from Violet Thistleweight and up is fine. Violet Thistleweight is fine. Seven Deadly Thorns is fine. And then I love this and up. So these are really, really good. And so based on this, actually I'm glad I caught that. So based on this, really interesting, because I would have expected to hate Coldwire and Fallen City. Both were fine, so that's nice. I didn't hate them. Loved A Rather Vengeful Accord, so that's a win. I wasn't expecting. And then, DNF this one, so middle ground though. Seven Deadly Thorns was fine, and I hated the book. This one, I didn't like the cover, but I really liked the book, so that kind of proved my original theory. And then what doesn't prove my theory is I hated this cover, didn't really like the book. So this kind of goes against my little theory of the books that I love the covers the most are the books that I hate the most. So that's kind of nice. I actually get to keep the books that I like the most, because I do plan to keep at least the top three. Because I'm keeping Coldwire, Fallen City, A Rather Vengeful Accord, and Violet Thistleweight. The other ones I'm going to get rid of. And then here's my order for what I thought I was going to like, which is kind of sad because this was my favorite. So I actually thought I was going to love this one. It's everything that I should like in a book. So I had the most high expectations for this one. And actually my lowest was A Rather Vengeful Accord, which ended up being my favorite book because it's Illumicrate, and just automatically Illumicrate makes me nervous. That House Sapphire, Coldwire, and Fallen City would be the favorites. And I had this Violet Thistleweight really late because I don't generally like cozy fantasy. So my two favorites were the ones that I had the lowest. So basically you can almost invert this, except for that does go at the bottom. But that's crazy that those actually go at the top. So the real order, let's talk about the real order, what I ended up loving to what I ended up hating. Here is my actual order of what I enjoyed to what I did not enjoy. Rather Vengeful Accord, we had a 4.5. Violet Thistleweight, 4-star. Coldwire, 3.5. Fallen City, 3-star. Wow, it really went there. House Sapphire, 2.5. We DNF'd this one. However, I think I would have liked it better than Seven Deadly Thorns, so I did put a DNF above the 1-star, which is actually really funny, but that one goes last. Our winner of the video and the book I thought I would hate is A Rather Vengeful Accord, and I'm so excited to read the sequel. I do actually want to reread this. I had so much fun with this. I think this is very unique. I would recommend this one. I think this one is really fun and really good. So I am back at the end of this video with poor lighting, poor setup, everything, because I completely forgot to talk about the actual final ratings of 2025. So I totally forgot to go over those, even though I prepped them. I just was kind of just done with the video. So future me editing me was like, oh, forgot to do that. So let's very quickly go over the overall ratings. So I did only count Fairyloot Young Adult and Adult, Owlcrate Young Adult and Adult, Illumicrate, and Afterlight. Although I probably could have skipped Afterlight, but we're looking into it still. So I did do a chart based off of DNFs included, an overall rating of what they are, and then DNFs not included. So DNFs included, they're counted as a 0 because I did pay for them and I did not finish them. So I did end up giving them a 0, which is why I want to finish books in 2026, because that is skewed having not actually finished the books, because they could be a 2 or a 3-star when I finish them. So that does adjust things. So I want to see in 2026, having finished all the books, what they actually end up being. I basically took an average of all the ratings, divided it by how many books, and that is where we're at. And I listed them in order of how well they did to how bad they did. So, including DNFs, our best subscription is Afterlight, but it does include 4 books, and that is it's a 2.75 is the average rating, because I had a 5-star, a 3-star, a 3-star, and a DNF. So 5, 3, 3, and a 0. That's kind of why it adjusts so far down. Then coming in second is the Adult Fairyloot, which had 9 books. So across those 9 books, I ended up with a 2.67. Fairyloot Young Adult, we had a 1.92, and that's actually tied for third with adult Owlcrate, which is 1.92 as well. So Fairyloot Young Adult, it's 12 books. I got all 12 books in 2025. Then the Owlcrate Adult was over 6 books though. I feel like that's even worse because like I will say Fairyloot Young Adult for 12 books, no, 1.92 is disturbing, but again, it has DNFs in there, so we're gonna talk about the DNFs in a second when I do DNFs not included. Second to last is Owlcrate Young Adult with a 0.91, and it was over 8 books. I had so many DNFs, so there was a lot of zeros. And then the same thing with Illumicrate. I got a ton of Illumicrates, 10 books, a bunch, almost all of them were DNFs, and it was a 0.75. So, did you guys think it was going to be that bad? Did you guys think it was going to be that bad? So, DNFs not included. So if we're excluding them, we're taking the DNFs just completely out, only using the ones that we actually rated. Illumicrate's the best, which is not a surprise because I DNF'd 7 books. That's why the other one was so low. I had 7 zeros. I only rated 4 books, and those 4 books were, let's see, The Raven Scholar, which was a 3.5, Voidwalker, which was a 4. Oh no, I only had 3. I only had 3 rated. I don't know why I wrote 4. 3.5, a 4, and a 4.5. So no kidding, the average is a 4. Oh no, I was looking at the wrong thing, guys. I was looking at the wrong thing, but it is a 4. Average is a 4. It is the highest rated, and we do not include DNFs. Next is the adult Owlcrate, because again, I only had 6 books total. 3 of them were DNFs, so I only rated 3 books. So I would hope it's really high, the ones that I actually rated. A 3.83. Then after that is Afterlight, which was a 3.67. I only rated 3 of those books. Then Fairyloot Adult was a solid 3, but I rated 8 books. I had 9 total. I only DNF'd 1. So that's actually pretty good. So that 0 for Fairyloot Adult, definitely, because like with the DNF, it was a 2.67. So that 0 really did bring that down a lot. So a solid 3, that's not that bad with 1 DNF. So I'm not super upset about that one. Young Adult Fairyloot, kind of similar situation. It's a 2.56 over 9 books, and I DNF 3, so that's why it dropped the Young Adult Fairyloot to a 1.92. So that feels less bad, knowing it's so many books actually. And then the lowest one, which is really bad, Owlcrate Young Adult, over 3 books. I DNF 5. I read 3 Young Adult Owlcrates, and they were 2.42. So even when I read the Owlcrates, they were still incredibly low and not very good. So that's, yeah, yeah, which I'm glad. I am well, actually, I haven't skipped any Owlcrate this year because I really liked their choices so far. But I mean, I feel like it's pretty obvious that Illumicrate is on the chopping block. I've already skipped 1. Young Adult Owlcrate is on the chopping block. I already canceled Fairyloot. I know I don't have numbers for it, but I did already cancel Fairyloot. I also am phasing Afterlight completely out. I got 1 Afterlight that came in March, but I'm basically keeping that one until they kick me off of it. Because like I'm just skipping a bunch. I'm skipping until they don't let me anymore pretty much. Because I do like every once in a while they have a really, really good pick. So until they kick me off, I'm gonna stay on it. Because it's supposed to only be like 3 skips now, and I've definitely overused that already. So I don't know if I have like because I've been a subscriber for so long, I don't know. I'm sure it'll pop up eventually and they'll get mad at me. But yeah, they are kind of all, like right now, Fairyloot Young Adult and Fairyloot Adult are like my safe ones. They're my safe ones. Also, Owlcrates are safe just because I can skip it like as often as you want. They have unlimited skips. So that does put them in a category of I don't need to cancel because I can just continually skip them. And then no, but Illumicrate is counting its days, especially if there are limited skips. So, but anyway, those are the stats. Let's continue with the rest of the video. That is everything that I have for you guys. If you made it to the end of this video, definitely leave a sword emoji. I think that is going to be the most fun emoji for this video because this is the winner. Definitely let me know down below if you've read any of these, if you want to read any of these. Make sure you subscribe to miss any future content. I will be starting our January 2026 picks very soon. There are quite a few, so I really need to get started on those. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it. And yeah, that is everything that I have for you today. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.